It could have.
You could probably get like a little selfie light.
Yeah, I've thought about that as well too.
Have you seen those ones that like all the content creators have? It's like literally it's like a block.
I think I know what you're
And it's portable too.
Oh, like that just kind of like straps on top of the camera? Yeah. I have seen that.
Because those ones are really nice. It's probably all over my YouTube page. I mean, like, your For You page on TikTok.
I've just been so, I guess, lazy. Maybe lazy, maybe not lazy. But like, I don't want to be spending all this money like on all this stuff right now. Before, I know because I've done a lot of business ventures in the past where it's just been like, and I try it and then it doesn't end up going anywhere.
Right.
So that's kind of why I'm like trying to take a little bit of a different approach. And I'm like, let's just go step by step and just go one video, one podcast, one like conversation at a time.
Exactly.
And that's why I wanted to have you on and chat with you, because I like your whole perspective on like, just like, because like, when I met you, you were at like working at Twin Peaks and just like the whole vibe. And I remember you saying you're like, oh, you're trouble type of thing. I don't know if you remember that at all.
I'm trouble?
No, you said that to me.
Oh, you're trouble.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I probably don't, but I don't know.
Hey, that's okay.
Just because like I am with a lot of people, and so even like our conversation, if you bring up some stuff, I may forget that I had, just because like it's also been a while since we've seen each other. I guess.
No, that's fair. And I run through every conversation, the scenario that I have after having it with somebody.
Okay.
So I'm able to like remember and recall them a lot better than I think most people can, and that's just something that I've done for years. So I guess my main thing was I was just curious as to like, so like Twin Peaks, I didn't even know what Twin Peaks was to begin with.
Right.
So like,
how'd I get there?
Yeah, how'd you get there?
So I started originally working at Twin Peaks, I think in October, so I'm very new there. Initially, I was just trying to find a place that was gonna bring income, and something that was gonna bring income during the winter. So the place I was working at was like a restaurant / bar, mainly bar, and I wasn't making money there. And so ultimately, I just told one of my girlfriends, and she also worked at Twin Peaks, and she's like, you should apply. I think you'll do really great, babe. And then I was like, yeah, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And I did. And it was just kind of crazy how things just folded into one another. And honestly, I felt like I'm in the right place in the right time of my life being there. And it's not like, oh, because like these guys give you a bunch of money. No, you really do have to work hard in it, honestly. I think it was just kind of crazy how, just a quick backstory of it was that back in, I think it was last November, or November 2022, I was with a friend. I was super depressed. I was just got out of a relationship, and we had met at a Twin Peaks over at Flatirons. And so we were watching the UFC fight, and I was looking at the girls, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can actually work here. But the place and time I was at in my life, I just emotionally could not deal with it. So, and I was really grateful for the bar always handling with my schedule and being very, very caring with my dramatic breakdowns at the time. And so I stayed there, but it's so crazy to know that like back in November of 2022, I was like, I should apply here, but I know this is not my time to apply. Now coming forward, it was, September, I was like, I need to prepare myself for the winter, because the place that I work out, their main majority of income comes from their patio. And it's cold out, no income. And so what the owner does, since he's a small business, he usually prioritizes his full-time. And since I have a full-time job, my hours are going to get cut there unless I pick up a shift. And so I was like, I don't want to deal with that, or go with another like summer or winter, I should say, going through that. And I know things are super expensive. I am very independent. I pay my own bills. I live on my own. And so I said, I need something that's going to be all year round. And so I was just talking to a friend about it, and she's like, why don't you apply there? I worked there. I made great money. And so I did. And honestly, it's been such a great time. And I didn't really go just because like, oh, I'm hot shit, this. I honestly really didn't. I was just like, I know that when it's a bar or like a restaurant bar, you can go there for drinking, you can go there for food. I know you can make money. I felt like pretty much I was like in a really good place in my life, like body wise and also confidence wise too. And so I was like, okay, I think this is going on. And I told my best friend, and I told the girl that I was working with, or the one who had told me. And ultimately my best friend, she had her connect there. And so she got me the interview as well. So like it just went so fast and easy. And literally I did my interview and the next day she's like, you're in. It's like, okay, cool. So I just started.
So cool. Because like you said there wasn't a right time, and that's been something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is like there's always, it feels like there's a time and place to start something.
Right.
And I don't know if you ever thought about like what changed from like the original time when you were trying to do that versus like, okay, now is the time for me to go off and do this type of thing.
I did. And it really came down to like my mindset and where I was at mentally. I was not in the place to go ahead and think about my income because I was depressed. I was crying every day, and I was grieving a relationship. And so, I think when you start a new job and you're trying to create new relationships with people and you're not fully there for yourself, then like, how can you show up and also entertain other people? Because I would get comments at work when I was at the bar. They would be like, Brenda, you look really sad. Are you okay? And obviously I wasn't okay. And I'd be like, no, I'm not okay. And I would cry immediately. I'm just very sensitive to that. And so that's why I wasn't at that right place at the right time. And so I just knew like maybe one day, and I just honestly, I said, maybe one day, who knows? And I threw it out in the air, never looked back at it, never decided to. And then somehow it came back to me and I was like, oh, this is what it meant to be. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's just kind of crazy how it was like this full big run around.
Yeah, I've started to realize like what's meant for us will always come to be, and like I've been in that same place too, where it's just like grieving over lost things or grieving over things that I wish would have happened type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it's just like you're not like, it's not like you're sad, but it's like you are sad, and it's just like you're having to let those emotions go, so that you can kind of move forward. And I feel like that's been the hardest thing. Because it's just like other people want to support you, but it's also like an inward, like self-reflective journey that goes down to like what the mind and what you think on the inside.
Exactly. And it's also grieving expectations. Like you grieve a dream, you grieve the expectations, you grieve like everything that you kind of built yourself for this. And then that doesn't allow you to like, at that moment, you can't really see it. You know, you're grieving, but you can't see it. And then finally, when sometime you have that clarity, you're like, okay, that really wasn't for me. Now I'm a little bit outside those clouds, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because yeah, the whole grieving over a dream, I never really thought about it that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did until I actually had my breakup. I know we're going into that part of the relationship, but like I obviously had a relationship I was in for 5.5 years. And so, we were building a house and there was like an engagement ring involved. He never proposed, but I knew about the engagement ring. And so for me as a woman, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married. I'm going to go ahead and have my kids. And so like you build all these expectations up. Now like you walk this house and this house is like, wow, we're customizing. Like this is going to be how I'm going to design this. It's just all these expectations and dreams. And then when that's, you know, you both turn left, one turns left, the other one turns immediately right. You're like, what the fuck, you know? And you're kind of, I'm sorry if I didn't, I don't know, but like, you're just kind of like, what's going on here? And ultimately you are grieving that dream, you know? And I was like, I'll never have kids. I'm never gonna find no man that's gonna love me like that. And I'm also gonna be, you know, who knows? Like, cause he was at the time when I was in that grief man, I was like, he's such a good man. I'm never going to find a good man on that, you know, or it's going to be super hard to find a good man like him. And because he was my provider pretty much. And so, yeah, you just end up grieving a dream. And I did for a very long time. I would say we broke up in September, and I want to say I started going over that cusp like in March. So it was quite a
couple of months.
Yeah. And I mean, crying, you know, crying, not sleeping, not eating. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, I've been experiencing that myself a lot lately as well too. And that's why I didn't consider it as grieving over a dream. Because there's a theory or a way, it's a spiritual practice type of thing where it's cognitive drain. So either you can like grieve over said like unaccomplished outcome, or you can accomplish the dream, the outcome, or whatever it may be. So I never really thought about it that way. And like us as men, Like we're always told like don't show emotions, don't show weakness, don't show like how
Exactly.
you like you are vulnerable type of thing because like women will take advantage of it or other people will take advantage of it. But I've come to realize it's more of like an acceptance within oneself of being like, hey, it's okay if I weep, it's okay if I cry, it's okay if I'm like doing these types of things because it
Exactly.
just makes me human.
Right.
Because so often it just feels like these relationships and we build up these scenarios within our head that then when they don't play out the exact way that we want to, it's just like, well, okay, now I'm a failure. But it's like, are you really, or did you just need to reframe it and look at it from a different angle?
Exactly.
Because clearly now it sounds like you're back on your own doing
Yeah.
like supporting yourself. So it
Yeah.
sounds like everything turned out good for you in that
It
situation.
really has. And honestly, I look back, I'm like, man, that person was not for me, you know, and I'm so glad that that didn't happen. And I'm so glad that God has rerouted my life into something better. And I am just excited for what's to come. And, you know, you brought up a good point about your vulnerability. And I feel that there's always a difference between vulnerability and being transparent. But I feel that with vulnerability, somebody can use that against you. And that's what's so hard. And I feel that we are in this big society that it's hard to be vulnerable because there's always feels like there's always this back motive and you don't know what a true intention of this person. Are they going to use it against me or not? But ultimately, I think we have to be we can't be afraid. You know, I think that's one of my biggest like quotes. Do not be afraid. You have to feel to heal. So yeah, I feel you on that one 100%. That's been definitely my journey.
Yeah, and God always seems to direct us in the directions that we need to go, even if at the time it doesn't feel like it's the right thing. And then we look back and it's like,
you're right.
okay.
You're right.
Yep.
I'm sorry I went off the path. Please forgive me, Father.
And is it really going off the path, or is it just like giving a little bit direction or a push in the direction that you were always meant to go?
That's true. That's true. I guess that's very true. Who knows? You know? And I think it was probably like the direction that we need to go too, you know, because I do know like that purpose between like that relationship. I mean, I'm using a lot on just because that's where I'm at in my life.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
And I have like a hair on me here somewhere, but, rerouting, right?
Yeah, rerouting.
So just like, I'm grateful for that relationship and I learned so much and I knew I had to be in that relationship for a little bit or for that time being because it has rerouted me and I learned things from it, you know? And so obviously my mindset is completely different now, financially, emotionally, physically, and even like being applied with dating and just in general with all areas of my life. And part of it has to do with him. And it's just the change that you make within yourself and obviously the work that I put in too, you know, and therapy.
Yeah, therapy, mental health, like it's such an interesting concept because like I kind of have a different approach because like therapy is good. Like I think it's good to talk with people, but I also think sometimes we bring up too much of the past and it's just like the past is never ending. Like you can always find problems that have happened in the past type of thing. So it's like,
right.
Do I really want to live there? Or would I rather live in the future? Like and switch that mindset to be like, okay, I'm more future focused type of thing.
Right.
And realize that like the past did happen and I'll learn from it. I'm more looking at like what I can do now moving forward and make sure I don't make those same mistakes type of thing.
Right.
And I wouldn't consider like being in a 5-year relationship being a mistake by any means.
No.
But it's just like we learn different things at different times to help us get to that next place that we're wanting to get to. And I think it just changes with perspective and experiences because it sounds like you learned a lot from that relationship that like now you know what you do want and what you don't want and like certain aspects or traits that you're looking for, you can take care of yourself and like there's probably a host of other things that you've also learned as well
for
too.
sure. Yeah, it has definitely been a learning curve. And with the whole therapy thing, I guess like for me is that I know I have this like traumas and I have all these like trials and tribulations that I have gone through as a kid. And things that I've seen with myself in my relationship. I think just at the moment, what brought me to her was just me grieving. I needed somebody to like listen and give me that perspective that my friends weren't going to, because your girl went crazy. She's a little Latina. So I did go a little toxic on some certain aspects, but which I'm not proud of. I know I smile about it. I just smile because it's just, I can't believe I went there. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I figured like, you know what, I need to talk to somebody so I don't put myself in danger. I don't put others in danger. And I know that like what I am going through is not making myself crazy also. And so, or thinking like, am I really crazy or am I not? You know, and I really needed her perspective on things that my girlfriends couldn't give me, or even like my homeboys couldn't give me, because at the same time, sometimes I'm like, oh girl, I want to tell you this, but how do I tell you it? You know, and me and my best friend, who's my cousin, we have literally no judgment. I knew there was certain times where she was like, I'm not answering her call, because the baggage I was giving her was a lot. And so that's why I knew I had to seek out for a therapist at that moment, you know? So
is it really baggage or is it just communication?
I think sometimes, just in general, sometimes with people, you carry their baggage, not intentionally or on purpose. I think it just happens to fall. Like you can have a friend or somebody and they're talking to you and like they're telling you all these things, and then you follow up with them and then you want to pray for them, or you try to like give that, and I feel, or help them out, right? And sometimes when you help them so much, that drains you. That becomes your baggage too. Their baggage is now your baggage now. And so that's also like how we are as women, you know, we are leaning on each other, supporting each other, praying for each other, literally pulling up somewhere where we shouldn't probably be pulling up with each other, you know? And so little things like that, you're taking that baggage with your friend, and it's out of love 100%. But at the same time, I know it could be not as fulfilling, or it just feels like really heavy on you. So, or it can build up to that point. So, and I knew that's what was building up to my friends.
So better to go talk with somebody instead. And
yeah, because like sometimes I'll be calling them like 2 a.m, like I can't sleep, like fuck, you know, what's going on? Or I would see something, I'm like, girl, get ready. We're gonna pull up to this hotel right now, you know, or something that was you know, just something that I knew I was like starting to build up, and I was like, okay, this is not healthy. I need to find somebody. And sure enough, it took me a little bit, but I did find a great gal, and I started seeing her on a weekly basis, and my relationships were improved. I improved, obviously. She told me to start caring for myself, giving myself self-care, and you know, it's a consistent thing. I only see her twice a week now, so I'm very proud of that.
That's good. Twice a week?
Twice a week.
Okay.
I mean, I see her
twice a month?
Twice a month.
Okay.
Sorry. Twice a month, every other week, pretty much. Now, before it was probably twice a week, and then it was like once a week, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. If I do have like a bad week or I know it's like going on, I'll text her and be like, hey, do you have any availability? Just because, you know, we all go through life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I just like, because I have a coach as well too. I've listened to a therapist online, and like he would interview other people. He did interview other people like that and I would put myself in the shoes of them and kind of like feel the same emotions or experience like the things that they were experiencing, because I feel like people are we have a lot more similarities than differences. So it's just like I would listen to him and then I would kind of feel those emotions. So I was kind of like going to therapy, but I wasn't really going to therapy.
Right.
So instead now it's like I hired a coach and she asked me these tough questions and I'm just like, they get me thinking and they get me like changing my perspective, because you brought up the whole self-care thing.
Right.
And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've forgotten about like my younger self and like what his needs were and what he wanted. So it's just like a couple of yeah, exactly. So there'll be a couple of days where like I might go out and I'll be like, I'm just going to treat my younger self to something that he would want to do because he's been there for me type of thing. And I think having that balance between like us within ourselves, because we're the person that we have to spend the most amount of time with, is incredibly beneficial. Because like it sounds like from you doing the therapy and seeing her, it probably took some time to find the right one, because like were you under the stigma that like certain therapists were like...
Oh yeah, I think I went through 2 before I seen her. And it was actually thankfully to my friend who did the research and found her. And she's like, girl, this is all the stuff that we're going through. Let's call her. And so we got our consult. But the first one, she gave me an evaluation. She said, yeah, you definitely need therapy. She's like, you are grieving really bad and you need help. She's like, I won't have availability till November. And I mean, it was end of September. I was like, girl, I cannot wait till November. Like, I may kill myself. Literally, sometimes it felt like the agony in my heart just pouring out. I'm like, I cannot go any further. And then she referred me to somebody else over video. And so we did telehealth for a while. And I just did not like the style, and I also felt like we weren't really building a relationship, and I couldn't confide in her. And there were certain things that I would tell her, and she's like, well, why don't you just rip the Band-Aid? And I'm like, because I am not ready. Like, that's like you asking me to delete all the pictures of things that I cherish with this person, and you're asking me to like rip the Band-Aid off and just say delete them. Absolutely not. When you're ready, you're ready. Like, even I still have pictures of me and my ex, and that I was actually looking today, and I was like, you know what? These ones can go, but these ones will stay because my nieces are in them, or they were great memories. I'm like, just because that person is no longer in my life doesn't mean that I got to erase everything. And if I would have listened to her, I probably would have had that regret till this day, because there are certain things I was like laughing about. And it's like I said, it's not like he's a bad person or any of that. That's just a time of my life that I cherish, and I want to keep in my memories. And hopefully the person who I am with like can understand that as well. Because for me personally, I just like memories. I keep photos. Like, I capture things. I love having things on my photos. If I don't have like a video and I said, girls, did you send me the picture? Or God, hey, did you send me that picture? It's like, it makes me feel like, oh no, I'll probably forget it. It's not like missing that. It's just kind of like, I cherish those moments, So yeah. It took me a while to find the therapist. And then now that I'm with her, I knew immediately when I sat down with her, I was like, yeah, this is where it goes. And me and her laugh together. I joke with her all the time. I cry. Sometimes I come in, I'm like, I'm in love. And she's like, girl, stop. Like, she cracks up and she's like, what's going on? Where I'm like, crying. I'm like, actually, today was not the greatest day. And then I learned things from her too, where I didn't really know about my past, or just practices like self-love and being consistent with the self-love, or she notices like certain patterns of me that she can tell me. And I'm like, okay, I never even knew that about myself. My friends also probably don't even know that about myself, And it's not that I don't keep things away from my friends. It's just, you're with them for so long that you accept them for who they are,
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been like that. And maybe that's bad for me, because I've always just been like, if people aren't moving me in the direction that I'm wanting to move, I'm like, all right, like,
peace out
type
Girl
of thing.
Scout type of thing.
Basically, which is probably not the healthiest thing. I got big things that I want to accomplish in life, and if people aren't along the same path or have the same goal as me, I'm just like, I'm not going to do that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked kind of like what you were talking, well, a little bit of a segue, but it's just like finding the right therapist and the right person that asks you a question, because having a therapist that's just like, oh, just rip off the Band-Aid, that's not you coming to the conclusion yourself. That's her telling you what she herself, I feel like, would be doing.
Right.
But it's like, I feel like a good therapist and a good coach and a good friend should be asking questions to help you come to the realization yourself, compared to telling you what needs to be happening.
Right.
Along with, like, let's say you had kids with this guy too. Like, are you just supposed to delete everything and every memory that you've ever had with him? And that's always been my, like, memories and photos, and it's just, I'd rather just see it and look back and be like, okay, this is where I was at in my life type of thing. Because like, you can only remember so much in here, but it's like you can physically like document everything nowadays, so you might as well like do that as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, like I have a photo album, and I love going through that photo album. I love seeing like just like the pictures of me being a little girl, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I totally forgot, or I remember this, or like even trips that me and my family have taken to Yellowstone or some things like that, where I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad like I couldn't rip that Band-Aid off. Like, and then when I told my current therapist, about certain things that I did let go, one, it felt like a huge weight lifted, and I was proud of myself. But she was like, I'm so proud of you that you did it at your time, that you felt like you were ready. She's like, I would never have pressured you, because I knew how it would feel. And I was like, this is why I like you. This is why I keep coming to you, because I can come to her with all aspects of my life not financially, because we don't really talk about finances like that, but like,
Yeah.
stuff that get down deep in dirt, deep into the mind.
Well, that's what a good therapist and coach is supposed to do, is like get down and like uncover things that you yourself didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Like this year, or I should say last year, or 2023, whatever. I didn't even know I had a mother wound. I was like, what? Like, how is this possible? And it's just crazy how that unfolded. And so I knew I had like daddy issues and abandonment issues, but like I didn't know I had also a mother wound. And so, but like, it's just crazy how she's like sits there and tells you like, feel the feelings that you're feeling. Like, what are you feeling? And I don't, obviously me and my girlfriends always ask each other, like, how are you feeling? What is going through your mind? Like, what emotions are coming up? And I think those are good, like, check marks to see, like, where you at. And so that way you can actually be there for a person, and instead of just saying, like, oh, you should go do this, or blah, 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 or give that unsolicited advice. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, having somebody actually want to listen. Well, being there to listen to you, like,
right.
Non-objectively.
And supporting you the way you need to be supported, even if it's just a listening ear. Yeah. So you said you had a coach. What kind of coach do you have?
She's she's part of is a personal coach as well. So she's part of, so the therapist that I was telling you about is a guy on YouTube. Is called Healthy Gamer GG, and he is a therapist. He was a monk. He did yoga. Like he was a video game addict. He had like a 2.4 GPA or something like that. Dropped out of college, ended up getting accepted into Harvard and like becoming a psychiatrist, and like he's just like wealth of knowledge, super smart guy. So he wanted to be able to expand himself, and the only way that he could expand himself was by training other people to ask the type of questions that he himself asked. So instead of me going to like a normal standard therapist, like what they do at like his part of community and the things that he does is his, like, he trains all of his coaches. They work with him for 8 weeks, I believe, using his systems, his ideologies, and his values and beliefs. So it is kind of like therapy, but in a sense, like it's a coach.
Yeah.
So she asks a lot more like there, I can tell now, like I'm aware of it, and it comes down to awareness a little bit. Like if I'm logically giving an answer to it, she's like, well, how do you feel about that? I'm just like, okay.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's interesting because in the first meeting, the very first one that I had with her, like I just broke down and I was crying. I was just like, what is happening? And then like I went out on a hike for like the whole day, and I just spent time out there in nature, sitting, meditating, went for a run. Felt great after that. And yeah, she's helped me in more ways than I ever could have imagined. So I think both can be beneficial. Therapy was just like, I didn't want to dig into like the past all that much because like I didn't really have like a rough childhood. Like I understand that there was times when like my parents could have been there more than they were, but it's also like they did the best that they could, and I have to realize that like they're just people. Like you and I are, like we have no difference. Like I could just imagine myself putting myself in their shoes and like say having a kid and being like, okay, like now what? Like, it's the exact same thing. So it's just
and plus like you're also wanting to like move forward.
Exactly.
You have other things and aspirations and you're trying to build your foundation to move forward. And so I totally understand that.
Exactly.
And I feel you 100% on that, and I agree. Obviously some people have deeper issues for that, and everybody's different.
Exactly.
So but yeah, I completely understand you on that 100% because I'm the same way. I don't like digging into my past. I know, like I said, I know what these are things here. Obviously, I want to work on things where I'm more stable and able to be like a better partner, a better person, a better me, just in general, and better, friend, just a 1% human being out there that is a little bit better and hopefully, funny. So it's just kidding. Something a little lighter out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not so serious all the time type of thing.
Yeah, or just like authentically yourself, So, and I feel like that's really hard lately.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching videos earlier today, kind of around that, and it's just like people on YouTube and that create content that like a lot of people like they say that they're doing challenges to make them authentic, but it's like, are they really authentic? It's like my main thing is like I want to be as authentic as I possibly can, and not be having to like or put on a front or like a show and like not show my true intentions, because as you were saying earlier too, is it's like everybody has like, it's hard to see if somebody's trying to get something out of this, but it's just like I feel like if the heart is pure, people can kind of sense that in a way. Sure. So it's just like that's been my approach. I'm like, if I just give it terrifies me because it's like me having to show that vulnerability aspect of myself that I have never wanted to show beforehand, because I am a sensitive guy when it comes down to those types of things.
Right.
And I've always been told, like, and I've always put on this macho, like, but it's just like deep down, like,
You're pretty sensitive.
Yeah.
It's okay to be sensitive though too.
yeah,
So, and I completely understand that. And like I said earlier, just vulnerability, I feel like people can use that against you.
yep,
And that's so, it's like ammunition,
yeah,
and I don't like that
no,
at all.
I've never been a fan of it.
I am not a vulnerable person for sure. I really am not. I know that's not me. And it's kind of hard because people are like, how are you not vulnerable? And it's just, I feel like it's just how I've always been so independent and just very to myself when I was a kid, and even when I was just in general. So I don't really like speak on things. And so even this year I have been like more vulnerable, more transparent, just more able to like, and that honestly, there is like freeing in that vulnerability. Like there's a freedom that comes with that, because now you're truly able to voice the things that are sitting on your chest or sitting on your voice and saying like, I am able to say this and feel the way and speak the way I want to feel. Like I can say something like, for scenario, dating.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone on a date and I knew he wanted to pursue me. I didn't want to pursue him. And it was nothing against him. I just was not in a place to be dating. And he took me on several dates, but I never kissed him, never hugged him, never even like held hands. We never even cuddled. There was no physical, and he had asked me like, why isn't there any like physical touch between us two? He's like, I'm very respectful with you and you carry yourself well, that I feel like you're very closed. And I just told him, like, I started crying because when I have to be honest with this person, and I'm just like, how do I express myself in this vulnerability and tell you like how I truly feel? And we had a great conversation. I said it with love, and I said, I'm so sorry. Like you are right. I have been very closed off. I'm just not in a place to be dating right now. And I obviously didn't tell you what I've gone through, and this is what I've gone through. And he was super respectful about that. And I felt like that, just having that tough conversation with that person kind of helped me like, okay, for the next person who I date, and then the next one after, it is okay to speak the way you're feeling. And that vulnerability that you have in yourself, there's freedom. Because as soon as I hung up on that conversation, I was like, oh, man, I should have done that a long time ago. And it's the same thing when it comes down to other relationships, or, even boundaries at work, or boundaries with like my family, and just in general, it's just, it comes down to that. And it's like, you know what, I'm going to be real honest with you. Like, it may seem like I'm coming off as like the crappy person right now, but in reality, it's not because of that. It's just, this is how I feel about it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use it against me, and it could go in all areas of your life.
Because would that be a certain level of self-love at that point in time then?
It is. Yeah, it really is. And it's probably the best part of self-love, and you don't realize it either until you're acting upon it. And I remember talking to my therapist about that situation, and she's like, how did that make you feel? And I was like, honestly, freeing. Like, I feel so empowered. Like, I feel so good. The fact that I can actually voice this, and I'm gonna voice this with all my relationships, like future relationships or dating, when I'm dating. And yeah, they still are hard though. I dated a couple other people, and I had to have those conversations, and I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna cry for all of these. Sorry, dude. I do like you, but can't move forward with you.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. It's because like, so I was dating this girl as well too, and she had 2 kids, and for some odd reason, I don't know what it is, but like women, I seem to attract women that have kids for some odd reason, and I'm like, I don't, like, I want kids, but I also don't want somebody else's kids. And I thought that made me a bad person, but it's just like, no, that's just something that I had to realize.
Yeah.
But it did make me sad when I had to end it, and like I was crying, I was just like I just can't do this.
You grow feelings for that person. You like that person.
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong. It's just your preference and your standards. And so, you know, it's a lot being with somebody who does have kids. You know, I'm the same way. I don't have kids. And I'm at a place in my age, majority of people have kids. And for me to say I don't want a person with kids or not married, that narrows it very, very low. And especially with all the other standards, you know? So I feel you 100%. And I think it's for sure, I think when you meet that person, you'll know, like, if that is that, you know? And like you said, for sure that's not what you want.
Yep.
And who knows, if you do meet somebody and you actually love that person and you like that kid, because you know, there's a difference. We always talk about, obviously I don't have kids, but like I have nieces and nephews, and so I love my nieces and nephews. I love them. But to love other kids, people's kids, that's hard.
Yeah.
That is so hard. I'm sorry. Sorry to the parents. Sorry to all your kids. Like, I'm not saying your kids are not lovable, and I may get hate on that, but it is sometimes a little hard to love other people's kids. And it's, you know, you can love this person, but like their kid can be a menace, and you're like, absolutely not. And, you know, you're going to have to deal with also those repercussions. Be like, you're not my dad. You're not my mom.
Well, it's also how much parenting can somebody that isn't that other kid's
Another thing
do?
too. And it's also too, like, there's going to be, you know, if you're newly dating somebody, you're also trying to figure out your guys' values. Is that going to be part of their values? Or, you know, you can't instill your values in that kid unless you really, one, love that person, you love that kid, and you truly want to take over, you know. And I know obviously there's different aspects, and I have friends who have kids and their husbands are now their fathers, and they have great relationships. And so, like, I know I've seen both sides, you know, and I know both sides. But like I said, ultimately, I think at the end of the day, when you meet that person, then also when you meet that kid, you'll know, like, if you were in that situation, you'll know, like, yeah, this is who I want. Because there's times, like, I think in my life where I'm like, I don't want kids. I never wanted kids. But then I also realized, like, you know what? If I meet that person's probably going to make me be like, yeah, I want kids with you. I want multiple, like, yous, you know?
Little losses running around type of thing.
So, like, you just never know, you know? Just maybe, who knows if, I'm not saying that you happen to track it, but, like, who knows?
No, it's...
Obviously, right now, you're still really young, though.
Yeah, like, it's... Because it's rough. It's hard. It's challenging. It's not something that, like, I wanted to say no to, but, like, it was just something that I kind of had to, because I was like, I just can't be that person that you need me to be. Plus, I also didn't, I'd personally rather spend time with my significant other, like with her, like one-on-one before having kids, because then it's like we get to build that bond together first.
And build that relationship. It's a good foundation.
Exactly. Compared to like having kids, it's just like, well, now she has to go away and I can't spend time with her. Like, we have to go take care of other things. And like, I get that every relationship has those things, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'd rather be with somebody that I can enjoy, like, spending the night with, and she doesn't have to get home to see her kids or feel guilty because she's not with her kids and she's with me, type of thing. And I'm just like, I just don't want to be in the middle of that. But I had to realize that and learn that by going through one of those experiences again, and then putting myself first. And it's it all ties back to just being like setting those clear boundaries of like, okay, this is what I can do.
Right.
And I may look like the bad guy, but it's like, this is just my boundary, and this is where I stand, and like, here's the consequences if it's broken, type of thing.
Right.
Which I had never done before, even knew how to do that. So it's just been a complete mental shift that like has made my life better. But also worse at the same time, because it hurts so much. When I do it.
It does hurt. It does really hurt, and especially because, like you said, you feel like you're the bad guy. And I think another too, though, if you were to just be in that relationship selfishly for her, and you couldn't really, that was always on the back of your mind, or something that you couldn't quite voice yet, I do believe, like, in reality, you are holding her back.
Yep.
And that is the one thing that you're wasting her time.
Yep.
Ultimately, you're wasting her time. And to waste a woman's time is I feel like it's so disrespectful. And I applaud you for standing your boundaries and doing that, because she may not have seen it then and you may not have seen it then, but like moving forward, you have allowed her to give her a different opportunity and her kid a different opportunity.
Exactly.
You know, and instead of going like a year down the road, she'd be like, you wasted a whole year on me.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me that. When? How long you've been feeling this, you know?
Yeah.
And you can be grateful for those experiences, but at the same time, I feel like women's time always has to be respected, because biologically sometimes like we want kids.
Yep.
Like, and if we find another person, who knows if she wanted another kid,
Yeah.
you know? Obviously you don't have kids. Like, what if you wanted another kid?
Yep.
Things
Which
like
that was something that I did want, and that's why I was like, I couldn't do it with her. It's just,
Yeah.
I just didn't see that happening. But yeah, it was tough. So
Yeah.
it's just like, and I kind of, so I stayed in it because she had a rough past and like had rough experiences with other people that she had been with. And I was like, well, let me just show you what like a good, like a normal, like healthy, like man is like. At least that's how I like to think. Like, I don't think I bring in toxic traits or anything like that, even though sometimes like people will hate me for me doing the things that I do. But in the long run, they'll look back and be like, wow, I love him for doing that type of thing. I give the analogy where it's like running up a hill. Like, you hate it when you're doing it. After you're done, feels fantastic type of thing.
Right.
So I feel like I'm the same way. And like, I think I had to be in a relationship, date her for a month to help both of us realize like, hey, this isn't what I want, and this is what a good relationship can look like.
Right.
If I'm not being like manipulated or looked at in like a disrespectful way. So it's I think
A little bit of
both parties have to learn from it, but it is also like we're the one that gets to decide how the relationship and how we view that. It's like even your experience with the 5 years, like it could be like, wow, this is terrible. It could also be like, well, these great things happen and now I'm here because of this. And I think having that mental reframe changes everything. But if we're just dreading and holding that resentment or that anger towards that person instead of forgiving and letting go, we're allowing, I don't even like using the word allow, because it's like you have to allow somebody to do something to you, but it's just like I'm giving that person permission to take over my mind and my thoughts and occupy a space in my mind, which I've just never been a fan of doing that. So I'm like, I'd rather just forgive them and like move on and continue going forward instead of like worrying about the past.
No, yeah, I 100% like agree with you. Definitely forgive. Don't forget to forgive. Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like my ex, I forgive him. Obviously don't forget, but,
because were you the one that ended it with him?
No, he actually ended it with me.
Yeah.
So the first time we broke up, we've only broken up twice. The second time obviously was indefinite. No, for sure. The first time we broke up was during COVID, and I broke up with him. And then we were still living together, and I think like 3 months later we got back together. So we never told our parents that we broke up. I obviously told my brother and like my close friends, and so did he. And he didn't see it coming. And obviously it was like in the midst of COVID, like right during COVID, like everything shutting down. So, and we were still living together, and it's like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? And I broke up with him because I was like, I don't see us moving forward. And then he did, and then I missed him. And obviously I was like, did I make the right decision? I think I just kind of got back with him just because of out of loneliness. And then we did talk about things, and he said like, if we break up again, it's like for sure a breakup. Like, we're not doing that again. I said, yeah, I agree 100%. And we fixed certain things, but other things, you know, they were going as stagnant as the way it should, or the way we were, the first reason why I broke up with him. And I was like, like I didn't spend 5 years with you just to not do anything, you know? I'm like, no. And there was a little bit of a scarcity mindset to it, saying like, I'm not gonna find another man. Like, he's actually a really great man. He was also my provider. You know, just like little things that built up that I'm like, you know what, I actually do love him. You know, he is great to me. He's great to my family. He's great to my mom. And then I noticed things in his behavior that he was kind of like distancing himself. And so then, just a couple months before we broke up, I was like, you were acting a little fishy here. And yeah, I just noticed things in his behavior. I brought things up. I was made looked crazy. Ultimately, like our breakup ended up very tragic. Not tragic, I should say. It got ugly. He started manipulating me and gaslighting me and just kind of saying like, no, it's gonna be okay, like you're fine, but doing something completely different. Or I would be like, hey, I think you left me for somebody else. Like something's just telling me like you left me for somebody else, and like I'm not crazy, but I can feel it. Like I don't know what it is. And he goes, no, you are so crazy. Like, why would you think, like, can you give me peace? Like, we still live together. Like, what's going on? And I go, I don't know. Like, I feel like you left me for somebody else. Like, I'm some lost puppy right now. And he goes, no, like, you're just crazy. Like, why would I think that? Why would you, like, if anything, I'm not going to find somebody. No, he was with somebody already. So it's okay. Obviously I released what I needed to release. And, like I said, it got pretty ugly between us, and I obviously won't go there out of respect for myself and for him.
Of course.
But, and not only that too, like I don't ever want to speak bad about his character because, obviously when you are in emotions, you do and say things that are probably not really as aligned. And I didn't realize like I had anger.
Yeah.
I had a lot of built up anger and a lot of built up things that I wanted to say. And I was like,
Was that the Mexican in you though?
oh yeah. I was like, called up my mama and I told her, I was like, hey, so like this, I was like, so how did you slash dad's tires before? And she was like, Brenda, you are not going to be doing this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm just kidding. Not really, but please tell me or give me some advice. And she's like, you are going like off the walls. But when you're grieving and you're just in it, you don't see that. That was totally out of character for me. And honestly, I didn't do it. I only pulled up once on him and he wasn't even there. So it just, honestly, it was all for the best. And yeah, it got really ugly. I can't believe it got that ugly, but it is what it is. It's my experience.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know if it's a Mexican thing then, because like I dated a Mexican girl back when I was living out in Grand Junction.
We're toxicas.
Yes.
We are. I know we are.
Yeah. She was,
I warn every guy. Like, first off, have you dated Latinas?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes or no. And I was like, they're like, oh yeah, you guys are dramatic. I'm like, we're just a little toxic. But I feel that it's just because like the way we grew up.
Yeah.
Our moms, I'm not saying all of us, but like with my situation and what happened to me, my parents were very toxic. My dad was always out in the bars. He was drinking, cheating on my mom. My mom had us in the car, like, we're going to pull up to the bar, see your dad walking out. If he's walking out with some girl, we got to beat him to the house, certain things, And so, when I went to being in a relationship, I am very skeptical, or there's certain things that like, why didn't you put your car on CarPlay or put your phone on CarPlay? Do you know what I mean? Like, excuse me, like, what do you have to hide? Or why is your phone on D&D? And it's not even, it's just those little things and I feel like it's also intuition too. Part of me, it's definitely intuition now. Back then, I would say it was more self-esteem. I wasn't as like confident within myself, to really speak up. Now I'm like, why didn't you plug your phone in? But I take a minute to express that. I'm healing, not healed, healing right now. So yeah, I've gone off on a couple dates where I'm like, why didn't you put your shit on there? Like, are you dating me intentionally or not? It's just,
I love it. Like I absolutely love it because like you guys, but then they're like, there's so much love afterwards.
It's passion.
Exactly.
It's just like, we don't want a guy to just be like just be real. That's at the end of the day. I think like we just want this, just be real with us. Like if you want to fuck around, go fuck around, but don't fuck around with me.
Yep.
Like if you want to go ahead and tell me like how you feel, then tell me how you feel. Like I just growing up in that toxic environment, it's just like, I wish like you guys just could be so vulnerable, please, you know? And it's just, I have great connections when I'm, you know, getting to know that person on a deeper, most intimate level. But at the same time, like, yeah, this is not good, because then it just makes me more attached to that person, or things that I'm like, oh, I like them, but I also don't want to I don't want to be like, how do I say it in a nice way?
You can say it in whatever
I don't want
way
to be
you
fixing a man.
Yeah, no,
Do you
you
know what I
shouldn't.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be
I don't
fixing
wanna
no
be
man. Like,
fixing a
I don't
woman.
want you to be a project
Yeah,
for me.
no.
So at the same time, it's like, I'm not trying to sit here and think about the potential you have and fix you with that potential. So now I got to release you. Maybe back then I'm like, oh, he's just being like this, or he's being like, you know, it's because of his upbringing. His grandma probably just died right now, or something. He's going through it. And I would have left it. Now I'm like, I'm sorry, you're obviously not in the place or time in your life to be dating.
Peace.
Bye. You know, it is what it is. So.
Yeah, I learned like the whole saying "it is what it is." Like, it is what it is, but it also is like that's a way to negate the feelings and the emotions from that experience and just ignore it and push it under the rug, so that you don't have to feel those things, and then they bubble back up, and then they do burst through that dam eventually. Mm-hmm. So I do my best not to say it is what it is any longer, but yeah, it is. Like, I've always been in those situations too, where I've always tried to help. Like, I want to fix the other person, and I think I did that because I couldn't fix myself. I didn't want to fix myself. And that's something I've come to realize is I was always trying to change other people because I didn't know how to change myself. And now I'm like, I'm just going to change myself. Mm-hmm. And then hopefully everything around me will just kind of like fall into place, which that's kind of what has been happening.
And you attract those people too.
Yeah. It's like the odds of like months ago, I would have been like, this is crazy. And maybe it's just now I look at it, I'm like, this is just like a normal standard occurrence thing.
Right.
Because I'm big into like energies and like people and like the thoughts and feelings. And I feel like people can pick up on those like intentions, as I was saying earlier too.
For sure.
So clearly like there was
I felt like that's how like we connected. It's just off of each other's energy. For sure. Because like, I don't even admit, I do like faintly remember like our conversations. It's just like when I had you guys come to my table, I was honestly was like, oh, okay, it's just a day, like blah, 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 blah. But like, you really truly feel the energy off of people and feed off of them. And you guys had such like great energy, like your dad and then his friend, right? It was his friend. And so like, they were funny. And of course, like, obviously the industry that I'm in, I know like the way I was getting hung on, and that's fine. I don't have no problem with that. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable.
See, and that's where I was like, it's just like, I told him afterwards, like, lay back, dude. I'm like,
it honestly, like people, I've even gotten asked, like, do you get tired of it? Like being called so pretty or this, and it's, I just receive it. I'm like, and I know that sounds super narcissistic or kind of like self-absorbed, but, I know I'm beautiful. I know, and it took me a long time for me to accept that. And there's times I do struggle with it for sure, because I have other issues there. But you know, when someone tells me like, "Oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. You must be the blah 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 la la la," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like I receive it, I take it, but I don't like absorb it like as to like, that person just thinks I'm the most beautiful person in the whole entire world and keep it and going on forever. It's like, no, thank you for the compliment. I receive it and I appreciate it, and let's move forward, you know? And so the industry that obviously we're in, are a little bit more on, you know, our chichis are out, you know, some booty's a little showing, or, you know, skin is showing for sure. I know it's bound to happen, but I think it's also how you carry yourself, you know, and I felt like we had a great conversation, and, you know, I was feeding off of your dad, I was feeding off his friend, and feeding off of you guys. And I think honestly, you kept the balance there. You know, like you kept it pretty balanced.
I tried to.
And I liked that, but at the same time, it wasn't to the point where it was like disrespectful either, you know? And like, I think I was telling your dad that, like, no, it's just the way I carry myself, you know? It's just, it's just the way you speak, it's the way you talk, and then also how you are approaching people. And ultimately that will put people in their places and be like, oh, I actually respect her, I like her, you know, and don't want to cross that boundary with her, you know? And then you can chuckle and laugh and be like, hey, thank you so much, you know?
Yeah, because I would just feel like, I mean, at the beginning it would be like, oh, okay. And then it almost seems like it would go to some, I mean, I could see it going to some people's heads where it's just like, oh, I get these compliments all the time, so I must be this way. And then they go out into the real world and they think that they have like this privilege.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Do you not know who I am?
Yeah, it's just like, really?
I'm not shit, you know?
Yeah.
Do you not see this? The face card don't decline. No, definitely, I don't carry myself like that at all. I think just the way I grew up and just also the stuff that I had in general just kind of tailored me to not do that. But there's certain times where I'm like, okay, y'all need to stop because you're really making my head a little bit big. And I tell them that, like, I really tell them like, all right, chill out, homegirl, chill out, homeboy, because you're making my head go big right now. And I'm loving it. They're like, Brenda, no. And I was like, no, for real. It's like, all right, that's enough. Like, we're cutting that off because I can't cross that. I don't want to cross that, you know, and I'll take it for the day. You know, I'm like, you know, why not? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, enjoy that moment, celebrate that moment. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a difference between like you enjoying the moment, celebrating the moment, but carrying that moment with you for weeks and months or days. That's a different story.
Yeah.
You know? I think I learned that off of like John Maxwell.
Yeah.
He said that if something great happens, celebrate it, but don't celebrate for too long. He's like, get back on it.
I like that. Because, yeah, you got to acknowledge your successes. I would just always, like, over-exaggerate my failures type of thing, and I get so stuck in those, and I would forget those, like, little small successes that would happen. It's the same thing, like, when I look back at past relationships, is I always remember, like, the good things, and then I forget all, like, those bad things, and I was like, remember this, and remember, and it's like, this is why I left, and I have to constantly remind myself of those things.
I'm the same way.
Because, like, even when I left my job, too, like, I almost wanted to tell my boss, be like, hey, I want to keep my job, like, can we redact my letter of resignation? But then I was like, remember all those other things that like pushed you to this point, and I was like, okay, like I just have to stay there. That's why I've never understood how like people can go back to relationships or people, and maybe that's because like I forgive them internally, but like, and I still want to see them succeed. I just don't want them in my life anymore, type of thing. And maybe that's like a downfall on me, but it's also like I'd rather not have to be surrounded by somebody that isn't like having my best interest at heart, type of thing. So it's just like if we separated, clearly my intuition was telling me like I shouldn't be in this relationship anymore. So like why would I go back in the first place?
Yeah.
But then it's like it's better to stay with the devil that I know than the one that I don't. And then I have to remind myself, but then it's like, but God always seems to make a way. Like whenever I'm in a rough situation, things just seem to work out in the exact ways that they need to.
Yeah.
So it's just a constant reframing of me like trying to look more at like the good instead of the bad, and realize that these things are happening for my benefit, not for my downfall.
Right. Exactly. And you're ultimately choosing yourself too. That's a huge act of self-love. And when you choose yourself, that helps you move forward, you know, and, you know, like you said, with the whole dating aspect, like I was in the same way. Like I broke up once with my ex, and I was like, I got back because of a scarcity mindset. I'll be honest. And I was like, man, I feel lonely. I didn't know how to be alone. And now I'm like, if he was to come back and be like, hey girl, like I miss you, blah, 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 or whatever, how he wanted to come up to me, or like, hey, let's have some dinner, I would be like, no, I'm not putting myself in that situation. I wish you well, but yeah, we're not going back there, you know. And even the people who I have dated, we ended off all on great notes, don't get me wrong, but there's certain things that I did like, or certain things that I ended with, and I obviously always wish them well, and I want what's best for them. It's just like I'm choosing me ultimately. And, you know, like one of them I ended because I just was not into him, and that's not fair to him for me to, even though he took me out all the time and he paid for everything. And most girls were like, girl, why did you do that? Like, you know, he's a great guy. He's super respectful. Shoot, I didn't even have to kiss him, and we went on multiple dates. Do you know what I mean? But that's not fair to him. That's like blocking his blessings in a way. And then the next one, like I ended up in a situationship. I was like, oh, great. Like we're not in a relationship, but we're seeing each other, but yet I'm still getting ghosted sometimes. The fuck? Do you know what I mean? It's just weird. And so then you learn from those. And then the last one, I feel like he was holding back. He had a lot of things going on. I honestly was not even anticipating between me and him, like, ever. And I ended up liking him a lot, but like I said, he had a lot of things going on. I had a lot of things going on too. And ultimately, I saw that he was texting his ex or like reconnecting with his ex, which is, we were not together. It's fine. We're dating. Exclusive. Just, I wouldn't even say exclusive, but when we're dating. But I wasn't going to put myself in a position where I'm going to be disrespected or hurt. And I think that is a very hard thing because you have it was super hard, one, because I liked him. Two, I felt like, how do I say it? Like, a lot of girls would be in that position and they're like, I'm gonna be that winner. You know, I'm gonna win this guy over. You know, even though we're not in a relationship together, we got this great connection. You could turn this blind eye. But are you willing to put yourself in that position to be disrespected? You know, what if they link up? What if, like, he takes her out? What if he gives her the treatment that you've been waiting for? Obviously, he's holding on to something else, or that connection. And he did admit it, like, a couple days later, like, I'm tied to my exes or tied to this. And when it comes to this, like, I'm not there. And, you know, he even told me I can't give you that obligation of being in a relationship. And I had to sit with myself and take it as what it was. And a lot of girls will be like, well, if I stay maybe one day. I was not going to do that. I love myself. I've gotten to the point to love myself too much to do that. And that is ultimately so hard because I gave myself, I'm not going to be afraid to show you that I like you, but I'm also not going to be afraid to leave. And that is tough. That is so tough. I was like, damn, I cannot believe that. I actually did that and I was super proud of myself. And, you know, I wish that person well, but I also have to detach, you know, and if that person was to come back to my life, I don't know. It just depends. I feel like sometimes you leave people. I hope they go, obviously, elevate their life. And if I elevate my life and we're in better places in our lives, cool, you know, but if we're not, then no. I just know with like my ex for sure, I definitely am going back to that, you know, or those situationships. And so there's always room for, those ones are really hard. I think it's on a base, like here, there. Now, if it's a breakup consistently, like they're off and on, that's toxic. Yeah. Leave that out the door. Yeah. It obviously has to be done. You know, like you said, your intuition is telling you to leave, you should leave. You know, my intuition was telling me, girl, you need to leave. And I did. And it was hard. And I cried. I cried for all of them.
Yeah, I do that.
But I feel like you have to feel that feeling. Yeah. You know, it helps the healing.
It does.
It really does.
It lets all the bad energy go, or like it just lets you like move on and like just not have to be in that place anymore.
And not only that too, it just allows that freedom for yourself. You know, you get to move on for you. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, the whole dating thing is weird nowadays too, because it's like, I don't even know what dating is anymore. Like it's always been such a foreign concept, because it's like, are you talking? Are you friends? Like, are you dating? Are you a situation? Like, are you friends with benefits? Like, are you in a relationship? Are you exclusive? Are you not exclusive? How many people can I date at once? Can I date one person? Can I date three? Like, it's such a mess.
It's such a gray area.
Exactly.
And it's so weird because like even going on dates, and this is like my first year ever being able to date. Like date with intention and date like, because I have obviously my past. In my early 20s, I was partying all the time. And then I got in my relationship. In my relationship, he pretty much told me, he was like, you either choose me or the party life, one or the other. And I chose him. And I'm glad and I'm grateful I did that, because it helped a lot of healing in me. Like I am no longer drinking on a crazy basis. I mean, the only days I didn't drink were Mondays and Wednesdays. Yeah, alcohol was a huge part of my life. And I went from having a drink almost every day to not even having a single drink now, you know? And it's awesome. It's just crazy to like grow yourself. But at the same time, you know, you have to choose. And so like I started off with my 20s dating, not even dating, just partying. And then I went with my ex, and now I'm like, I feel more wiser, obviously. I'm in a place where I'm loving myself. I'm filling my own cup. And there's times and moments that I'm like, I don't want a relationship. Or if it comes, it comes. But I'm not looking. I know I'm meant to be a wife. I know I'm meant to be a mother. I know that what my God-given dream is. And I'm not going to put any time frame or pressure to finding that. And so if I feel that, I know it's going to come. It's like the power of the sun. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely not going to be out there looking. And so being in this season of my life where if a guy asks me on a date, yeah, I'll say yes. Majority of the time, I'll say yes. Obviously, because the people I'm attracting are great guys or guys who are a little bit more on the established side. And so, yeah, I'll go on a date. And obviously I talk to them prior before going to that date, or I have this like connection, starting to have a connection with them to say like, okay, is this a good idea to talk to them or not? Or should I be going on this date or not? And so now I feel like with the dating whole aspect, it's just like, all right, I went on this date. This other person asked me on a date. And then this other person asked me on a date. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I was talking to my friends, they're like, girl, you're dating. You're out here dating. I was like, am I? Like, I only went on one date though. And so just having that word dating is so weird. It just, I don't even know. And like, even when I was talking to one of the guys, he's like, yeah, we're dating. I'm like, we've barely gone on 2 dates, but I guess you are right. Like technically, if you're going on active dates with this person, you are dating.
Exactly.
You know? Now, when it comes down to intimacy, that's a different story. And obviously to each of their own and how I want to play with that. For me personally, I take my time with that, you know, and you know, you got to know if they're going to be exclusive or not. It's just,
yeah,
or else it gets really situational.
Yeah. I've been trying to do the same thing. So I get it.
Yeah. And not only that too, I feel like especially with women, we are emotionally connected.
Yep.
You know, for you guys, it's logical. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, for us, it's emotion, and that's how we connect with that person. And so be very picky. Be super picky with who you're exchanging that connection with. You know?
Yeah.
Don't give up that cookie up too quick, homegirl.
Well, hey, no, I mean, it's true. Like,
and if you want to be out there in the streets, be out in the streets.
Exactly.
I have no judgment on that. I really don't. You know?
No, that's just not the type of woman that I would ever want to be with. I was like, I've been there in my early 20s too, where I was like, every woman on the street, I was like, all right, I'm going to go hook up with her. I'm going to do this. And I'm just like, I don't want to be that person anymore.
Right.
And that's something that I probably had to grieve over too, because it was like, I was always thought that I would be like sleeping with all these beautiful women type of thing. And it's like, maybe I will, but it's also like, I don't have to. Like, it's just not something that like, I'd rather have like a one-on-one personal connection that goes deep than like a bunch of like superficial relationships just with women that I'm sleeping with type of thing.
Right.
It's changed over the years, but yeah, the whole intimacy thing has always been, because like some people it's like, all right, first date, like you sleep with them, but it's like, then do I really want to call you on the next one? Because in all likelihood, you probably did that with 5 other guys behind me type of thing.
Right.
So it's just like, if you wait, then there's more connection, there's more communication, like, because like, I feel like the intimacy thing is such a small part in a relation, like it's a big part, but it's also a small part, because like, you want to be able to enjoy and have conversations and enjoy the other person's company, and not just like them just because like of the intimacy. But then if the intimacy also doesn't match up, then it's also like, well, you're kind of screwed at that point in time too, because it's like, there needs to be a healthy balance between both of them, and I have yet to figure out like the time frame as to when that is, but I feel like maybe it just comes with time.
I think, honestly, it comes with the connection that you have with that person. I don't think there's a certain time. And just from me learning, I don't think there's a certain time. I'm not saying sleep with the person the first night. Definitely don't do that. Just because when there's a lot of dirty dick out there, personally from girls, like, you know, there's a lot of dirty dick. You want to keep yourself healthy, you know, not saying like wrap it up either. That it's just in general, you just don't know, you know, and just take your time. Like there's no rush, but I will say I was in a place of my life where I felt like maybe I was giving it up a little too soon. One, because I had very low self-esteem, but two, that was my way of showing love and feeling loved. And I thought, like, if I gave it up, he will love me. No, that is completely wrong. I know that now, and I'm so glad I learned that at a very short time. But I do know, like, maybe not all the girls know that. You know what I mean? Or may not feel that way, or realize that's in them. Because I didn't realize it until I had a different incident happen. And so I was like, oh, great. Like, what? You know, I didn't know that about myself, you know? And then also, like, when you are so caught up with life and things like that, and then you're in this, like, abyss of, like, this person, like, oh my goodness, they're like this, just like you're in this la la land, you know? Yeah, you want to give it up, you know, and now you want to know what's down there. I'm not gonna lie, you know, but at the same time, now, definitely, I just say you'll know when. You'll definitely know when, and it will just let it happen naturally. You know, if it happens naturally, fine. If it's on the third date, cool. If it doesn't happen on the third date, don't be mad about it. You know, to each person is different. You know, and you'll have that connection with somebody. You know, because there'll be times like you respect her so much to the point where you're like, I don't even want to like touch her wrong. Like, oh my goodness, like I respect her that much where I'm like, I don't want to like touch her wrong, but at the same time, like I'm craving her, you know? And so obviously just take it slow, or take it with, I guess, a grain of salt, just like not learning her vibe and her chemistry and how she is putting with you. Like if she's obviously there's that connection and she's like touching your arm and giving you the hints. All right, cool. You know, one thing we say, like, that's okay.
Yeah. I used to be very oblivious to those types of things, like read too deeply into certain cues or read too deeply into cues that weren't actually cues. And then it's like, well, and I feel like other men probably have struggled with that as well too, where it's just like, oh, well, she touched my arm, she's into me, but it's like, or was she just like, just touch my arm, just touch my arm?
True.
And it's just like, well, how do I navigate this? And it's just like, there's sometimes no real clear way to know, other than just like maybe trusting like the inner self type of thing and be like, okay, yeah, I do pursue this or I do not.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, it's, it's very interesting because like, I could pick up and I can read all the body language and I can read everything into this, but then it's like, was that true or should this not have happened type of thing? But it's also like, it was the right thing. And it's always those things that just run through the head of like, well, what's underneath? Like, I want to see, I want to know. And then it's like, once you know, it's like,
now I want.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, I feel you on that.
So
100%.
It's tough. It's very, very tough.
I feel like it's the same way for girls too, though,
Yeah.
for women. I feel like the same way. Sometimes we're like, did I just give it up too quick? Like, fuck. Or like, oh my goodness, like, I just got in the moment type of thing. But honestly, it's if it happens, it happens. And if it is what it is, you know, and I guess, so there shouldn't be no judgment. We're all adults.
Exactly.
You know, we're all adults. And if you're consenting and they're consenting, move forward.
Yeah.
You know, and go from there. And I feel like sometimes people like get in their heads where they like, did I just make it awkward? Did I just go ahead and like, do I call him? Do I not? They get into this point where like, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the hardest part. But at the same time, like I said, we're all adults. And, you know, if something is really bothering you, like, hey, I think I gave it up too quick, then speak up about it. Mm-hmm. Or saying, hey, I'm feeling this way. Am I feeling this way from overthinking? Is this something within myself? Or is it something that I'm really picking up on your energy from? You know, and that healthy communication and vulnerability. Mm-hmm. Because it is vulnerability. You know, who wants to go ahead and have this great intimate moment and then someone said like, I don't know if I did the right thing, or even having the call being like, hey, I feel like an energy shift. Is it true? And majority of the time, if that person's not on the same page or there's not that connection, and say, for instance, that person just wanted to get in that person's, you know, pants, mm-hmm. that's the part where people are not truly like authentic about that being like, yo, yeah, we're fine. In reality, he's like, I just want to get in their pants. You know, it took this long, you know?
Couldn't the roles be reversed in that as well too?
Oh, 100%. I've been there. I am guilty of that. I've been there.
Yeah.
But that's the past.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
is the past be, you know?
I also don't think a lot of people can have these types of conversations because one, they were never taught, or they never knew how to, because like I didn't know how to have these conversations. Like I had to learn how to do these types of things by either going to therapy or coaching, reading books, asking other people questions, and like inquiring within myself to come to this realization.
Right.
And I did it because I didn't like the place that I was at. I just don't, it's hard because like these aren't conversations that I've ever had beforehand because they are kind of an uncomfortable thing. But I look at it more as like, I can do the input, the output, like I can't determine I can't control that. Like I could say text you or a friend and like I could be like, hey, I'm sorry for all these terrible things that I've done in the past. Like I was dumb, ignorant, stupid. And I can be like, I can do a whole list of like just terrible things and apologize for that. I either get a response or I don't. I can't control that.
And you're also not responsible for their reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. But there's a thing like with AA that I learned, like with Alcoholics Anonymous, like one of the steps within the program is to go pay your dues and make right for all the mistakes that you had made from being drinking.
Right.
And it's almost like you are letting go of those like past experiences and those past feelings to be like, hey, like I know I messed up, I know I sabotaged, I know I did like manipulated you in XYZ way, and I apologize for those types of things. And that almost like at that point, like it removes it from that person, and it's not putting it on the other person. It's just like, hey, like I'm sorry that I was a dick back then, and I'm trying to be a better person now. So either like you can accept it or you can't type of thing, but I can't control how the other person reacts at that point in time.
Yeah, and you also can't control like if they have forgiven you or not, and that's on them to go through that. And you may have, they probably forgotten it or said like, yeah, but like for them, you know, if you reached out and said, I'm really sorry, yeah, they can move forward with it. They can hold on to it, or they could like, I can't believe this. They could do so many things, but ultimately at the end of the day, you can't control their reactions and you're not responsible for their reactions. Ultimately, you are doing that for yourself. And if you are seeing it from a place of really like, I am sorry and I apologize for everything that I did, and you're being authentic, that is what is enough for you and to help you release what you need to release and free you to go do what's next. You said AA, like,
alcoholic? No, I don't try. I've just always been a fan of addiction and understanding addiction, because I think we assume addiction is just alcohol or drugs, but there's other addictions. Like you can be addicted to pornography, you can be addicted to social media, you can be addicted to, the gym and exercise. Like everything can be an addiction. I just think there's some good ones and there's some bad ones.
Yeah.
Sugar, food, like.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now it's what was it? Someone said it was like, for sure, social media. That was me. I erased my Facebook years ago because of that. I mean, I was sleeping. I was like, I could feel that was like on my phone, but I wasn't my phone. It was my hand. I was doing this, like trying to scroll. And I woke up thinking I had to post something. And I said, where's my phone? My phone was not even in my room. I don't even know where it was. And I looked, I found it, and I was like, okay, I obviously didn't post anything. But I knew at that moment, we need to chill out. And so, and I also mentioned that to you, like when I first met you, about like my social media, like I don't have notifications on, or, I'll go through breaks where if I know that I'm fully consuming into it, I will go ahead and like delete the app. And I go to the extreme. I'll delete it and re-upload it right back. Just so I'm only, that's my discipline. The timers don't work for me.
Yeah.
I'll just bypass it. Okay. And by the time I get it, I'm like, you spent 11 hours this year or this week on TikTok, and it's this week, 11 hours? Where the hell did those 11 hours come from? Do you know what I mean? I don't know either. Don't ask me either, but somehow it gets done. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I think it's just like being on lives too. And I have that on backgrounds, but still it's just like, it's not healthy. And so, yeah, addiction to social media was for sure one. I've had addiction to porn at one point in my life. I don't even watch it now.
Yeah, I'm
No,
doing my
thank you.
best not to. There's still some days when it does come up, and it's like because it ties back to emotions.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, what am I
Feeling.
feeling that I don't want to feel right
And
now?
I think you mentioned that too, like with social media or like with certain things. And so, yeah, it definitely, it's pretty crazy how everyone can have certain addictions. And like sugar. Sugar is like chemically as well, like if it was a drug like cocaine. I think it was cocaine, some type of drug that it does in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the Huberman Lab podcast that was talking about the sugar and the addiction it does. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want anything with sugar. It's so insane, but it just kills your body. It destroys it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want no addiction to. And that's like with Oreos. They said Oreos is like an addiction to cocaine, which is crazy because I've done cocaine and I didn't get addicted to that. I'm more addicted to the Oreos, you know?
I'll eat a whole thing of Oreos
Literally,
in one sitting. I don't do it anymore.
I don't keep them in my house for that reason. If I buy any sweets or any of it, I will buy it and I'll take it to work with me. And I said, you guys help me because I just want that little piece and I don't want to take it home because I'm slowly munching in on this and slowly. And then, you know, I'm on my holistic route of food and I'm like, great, I just had all this sugar. Now my glucose is up or my insulin's up and now I'm going to probably cause some insulin resistance type of thing on me. I just spiral.
That's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but like that's just interesting to see how you spiral that
Yeah,
quickly.
I quit. Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness. And now I'm like, and then if I don't feel like I'm hitting my fitness goals or I'm not, or I feel more bloated the next week, I'm like, see, it's all the Oreos that I was eating, you know, just nitpicking everything. I can't.
I mean, I do that with my interactions with people.
Mm-hmm.
So like food has never been an issue for me, luckily. So like I can eat whatever I want to eat type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just like, it's the same thing with social media. Like if I can tell when I'm doing it too much and I'll just like throw the phone out of reach. So I'm not like worried about it anymore. And that's helped me a lot. But like I give myself sweets that I don't absolutely love. Mm-hmm. So like chocolate's one of those. So like I could just eat like I'll have like maybe like chocolate chips or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that would be like my little sweet thing.
Right.
But otherwise I'm like, I've practiced on giving up certain things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just, it changes things a little bit by being able to be like, I don't need this. Mm-hmm. So I just won't buy it. And then it helps that discipline. And then it's like, okay, now I can go better. Like now I can help my health. Like now I can become healthier with my workout routines and all these other things. And it changes everything at that point in time.
Yeah. I feel you on that one 100%. But you know, there's those little cravings. I'm like, do I buy this little stack of Oreos and I can eat probably the whole stack of Oreos? Or do I buy the whole thing and share it?
Yeah.
So others can enjoy it with me.
That's a good way of looking
at it. That's how I reframe it.
I do like that, yeah. Because then you can have a little bit more and you get to share the pleasure with other people too.
And I think I like having that feeling with other people, like, okay, I get to share it with them. Yeah. You know? And I'm just like, okay. But I never really had a healthy relationship with food in general. So this year I had acquired a nutritionist, and so just to kind of help me on my fitness goals and where I want to go and just building that foundation. So I inquired her, I think last month, sometime in December. So we'll see how that goes.
That'll be good.
Yeah. So she's definitely more on the holistic route, whole food based. And so my neuropathic doctor, she's obviously holistic, and so she's helped me build that foundation to where I want to get, but now I just need help with like my macros, and also, you know, you can only eat certain things until you're sick of it. And now I just wanted somebody else to be like, as a coach, keep me accountable. Mm-hmm. You know, and she's very accountable. She's like, hey, how's it going with your macros? And I was like, I did not try that this month or this week, you know? So I definitely needed that push. And I found out I was under eating a lot. So I wasn't building the muscle that I'm building. And I'm also not losing the weight that I want to lose because I'm under eating. Yeah.
Food's interesting because like you said, you can only eat a certain thing for so long until you're like, all right, I'm done with this. Like I can eat the same thing for weeks, months at a time, and like have no question, no problem with it. So like I can eat, but it's been a conditioned trait that I've learned, like just from a very young age. When I was a kid, I would always have peanut butter and honey sandwiches, either on bagels or on like just normal bread as a kid, and that would be my lunch for like Monday through Friday type of thing.
Right.
And I did that for months, so I just got used to having the same thing for lunch every single day. So I just applied that same strategy to my dinners and to my lunches and my breakfasts when I was bulking and when I was putting on weight, so that then I wasn't like worrying about like, oh, okay, what am I going to eat today? Because then that's mental processing that I don't want to have to worry about.
Right.
Or if it's just like, I just have chicken that I put in the crock pot and I now have that to eat for a week, or it's just like I made tacos, now I have tacos to eat for a week, and it's just easier for me to eat the same thing. Instead of come up with an idea every single day. But having a nutritionist, I could see being very beneficial for other people, because I do things a lot different, because I don't want to be using my mind, and like, I wouldn't, like, I love food, but I also don't like, it's also a chore to me sometimes.
Yeah. And I think too, like for me, it was more, I wanted to have a healthier relationship with food and eat food without having guilt or having any like spiraling towards it. And so, and also like I was sick of eating, even though I'm making like fajitas and I'll make steak with my greens and then my sweet potatoes. Like I love sweet potatoes. I eat them every single day. Same with my Brussels sprouts, eat those every single day. And I love having them for dinner and stuff, but it's just certain things where I'm like, all right, I don't want to cook. I also don't want to go ahead and make this. I need other options too. Or maybe do I really have to eat lean meat, or, what is going to be more beneficial for my skin too, like salmon and all those things that carry those omegas and whatever, should I be trying to implement those? And so, but yeah, I just never really had a healthy relationship in general with it. And so I just had asked her, like, I don't want to spiral when I'm eating. And she's like, are you going to be okay with us upping your macros? You're going to have, your calories are going to be a little bit higher. And so is your protein. And, eating protein is also very hard to have. And so I have struggled with it, but at the same time, like, okay, I'm starting to see the changes. I'm feeling stronger. Okay, she's right. I should be eating more. I'm doing 6 walks a day with this dog that I am dog sitting, and I'm like, great. I'm burning more calories and hitting the gym and doing Pilates, and I'm like, and working and being on my feet all day, where I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, you're right. I should be eating a lot more. And my body's like holding on to this little piece of food that I'm barely eating, where I'm on the computer all day. I'm like, oh shoot, it's 2:30. It's 3 o'clock. I need to take a lunch, and I started at 9. You just get so focused in there. So I never really had that good of a relationship.
And that's been for a while then? Like that way? Like with food, you've never had a healthy relationship with it?
No, I was always very like underweight. And so what happened, as a kid, I was very underweight all the time. And my brother was overweight. It looked like he stole my food, but in reality, he never did. But then when I hit my teens, I started to gain weight. And obviously, it's just hormones, changes in your body. And when I started gaining weight, my mom was telling me like, oh, mija, we can go ahead and get you some liposuction on your back. And hearing that when you're 15 and you're already in the midst of having body issues, like there's girls who are developing sooner than you. For me, I didn't develop very soon because the girls had butts. I didn't have a butt, or they had boobs and I didn't have boobs. Like I was just plain skinny. And so when I started gaining weight in areas I obviously wasn't used to. And she's like, oh, you have little love handles and you have this. And then she's like, you should, we can go to Mexico and we could get you lipo. I'm like, what kind of 15-year-old are you going to take to go get lipo, first off, And so those little things kind of hit your self-esteem. And then now, I'm eating different. And she's like, you shouldn't be eating this or you shouldn't be eating that. And being criticized, like, oh, you're starting to look a little bit more swollen. And that just created a really bad habit of me starting like diet pills at a really young age, or not eating and starving myself. And or just looking at things like, I'll just only eat this much just to get by. Or I would binge eat for a long time, or just kind of eat like only sweets or things that weren't really as nutritious, or, you know, I would only have one sandwich and I'm like, all right, cool. I ate for the day and we're good. And I had my coffee. I'm not even hungry. So I never had that relationship or with food, or if I did eat well, or I was eating well for the week, I'd still be at a point where I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm overindulging, or I want to indulge more. There was never like I was lacking or not enough. So now I've, you know, even with my breakup, I wasn't eating at all and I lost 20 pounds. And I was looking so sick. And I just remember looking at my legs. I'm like, oh my goodness, I lost all my muscle definition. Obviously now I'm in a healthier place and regained that in different portions. And I feel so much more confident. But I literally have to tell myself, I am nurturing my body. I am loving my body. This is for me. And I'm like, even there's times like, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of me that I made this beautiful meal for myself. And I have to reaffirm myself on certain things that I'm eating. And even with this holiday season, I was like, oh, great. I'm having tamales. I'm having cake. I'm having, you know, sweets and drinks that are sweets, you know. And I just tell myself, it is okay with moderation. You know, you're not overindulging. And if I do an overindulge, like I'm going to hit it harder at the gym. You know, I'm not going to starve myself. And I did gain a couple pounds where I'm like, ah. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? That's just accountability, just to go harder. And are your goals really, truly important to you? You know, you can either give up at that moment, or is it going to fuel your fire? Yep. For me, right now, it's fueling my fire. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I did eat a little bit, but it's okay. It's going to the booty now. Some of it.
Some of it, all of it.
No, I definitely don't have a butt. I'm like, BBL, please. Whoever wants to buy me one and sponsor me.
Hey, I mean,
please at me on my Instagram. Just kidding.
Entirely possible.
If you want to help me and sponsor me with a BBL, please, you know, add me. Just kidding.
Do BBLs even look natural though? Like
they can.
They can.
So there's some girls that
really?
like don't even know that.
Because I've seen some, and I'm just like,
there's different types of BBLs too. So there's the BBL, obviously the ant butt, the diaper butt.
Yeah.
And it's gonna look. She looks very culona, like very big butt, and thighs don't match. But there are some girls that just get a little lipo out on their back, on their arm. They'll even like get the ab sculpting and then put a little back on their butt, and that's it. You'll be surprised. Like Drake's, Drake, he talks about, I think his name is Jung Money. He's a plastic surgeon. Mm-hmm. And if you look at some of his girls, they look good. Like, wow. Like he calls them skinny BBLs. Some of them are skinny BBLs. But like the edging on the abs, it just, chef's kiss. It's like an art.
And like, I get that. Those are things that you can physically like change with hard work.
You can, to a certain point. But there's other things like girls want hips. Like you can't really quite do much with your hips. Yeah. You know, like, or have that like hourglass shape. And so if someone's got to transfer from checking to savings, mm-hmm. it's going to cost them a hefty fee, you know? But yeah, I think everything's to each other own, and it's sometimes on genetics too. Yeah. I know like my calves will not be big calves. None of my family has big calves. I know for a fact I'm not going to have big calves. Not limiting myself, and of course I'll always work on my calves, and I can define them and obviously try growing them as best as I can, but I know I'll never have like these crazy big, beautiful, like crazy calves. Yeah. You know, and I could work hard for them, but it's just like, I'm not going to get fillers either on my calves either. I don't mind that. But yeah, it's just, I think with surgeries, I hope a lot of girls end up doing it just for themselves, not for just the not low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. Definitely can help. But I think, if you, like for me, I would want a BBL probably after I have kids. Mm-hmm. right now I am in this area in my life, like what is my potential in the gym?
Yeah.
I want to get as fit, like not fit as I can, but I want to get to a point where I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, like she looks toned, she looks good, like, and I feel it, I look it, I know it, you know, and I'm like, yep, that's my hard work. I guess that's part of me just like, oh, I just want to see that potential just yet. I know it's in me.
How long have you been lifting for?
So I just actually restarted.
Okay.
So I was lifting about 5 years ago, but then I found out I had like issues with my gut, my hormones were out of whack. And so that's when I met my naturopathic doctor, and she was like, girl, you got leaky gut, you got parasites, low functioning thyroid. Let's fix that. Let's fix your sleep. I told her how much I had like anxiety, and we went on this journey to fix my gut. Now that that's fixed and I lost a good amount of weight, I would say like 15 pounds from it, just alone fixing your gut and sleeping. And then I was like, okay, I have a good foundation on that. Let's bump it up. Obviously, I went through my breakup. Before that, I was starting to do Pilates, and I loved Pilates. I was doing it 3 times, and I was starting to see the definitions. And then I was like, I want to now go back to lifting because I loved having that as well. And I wanted to build more muscle. And so then I had my breakup, lost all the weight. And then I would say back in May of 23, I just decided to like, let's start again. Oh, because I broke also my wrist too. I broke my wrist snowboarding.
Both of them or just one of them?
Just one.
Okay.
I caught an edge and it was so embarrassing. It was during a lesson too on the bunny hill and catching an edge. And of course I just fell back because we were learning how to do the back ones, and boom, I just ended up falling. It was bad. I was like, I'm fine. They're like, no, you're not. And then I looked at my hand and I was like, yeah, definitely not. Good thing it was a clean break, and it only lasted 8 weeks. I didn't even have a cast, like a real cast. It was more like a heart thing. But overall, yeah, I broke my wrist. And then I was like, all right, now that I have like some mobility, I went through the PT. I was like, okay, I think now I can start working out. So I started very small, just walks, because I also had low testosterone now. I was dealing with, I was like, I'm always tired. So I got my blood work done, and she's like, you have low testosterone, let's fix that. And since May, I've been back on Pilates, and then I got a good rhythm of that. I started just doing like more cardio, kind of lifting, just kind of getting comfortable. I did lose the comfort of lifting at a gym, and being at the gym that I went to, I got stared at a lot, or I feel a lot of eyes on me, and so I didn't feel as comfortable being on the machines. So then I asked my girlfriend at work if she'll help me, and she's like, yeah, we can go together. So me and her have been going together at the gym, and just even her affirmations to tell me like, your form's actually really good. Like, you're doing such a good job on this. I'm like, okay, cool. That made me feel more confident in myself to just say, I can do this. And now I'm able to go to the gym, start lifting. And so I would say I've been lifting for a good like 2 months now.
Okay.
On a more consistent.
Yeah.
So I do see some changes in my body. My back has definitely been more defined now, and my core is a lot more stronger. My quads are quadding a little bit, you know. The butt is lifting just a tad. So I'm like, okay, this is exciting. You know, I definitely could do it. So it's definitely one of my goals for 2024.
Because are you taking progress photos then? Like, yeah. So
Yeah, I took one of my progress photos today.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see where it goes. And I do see it. Last month I did have like a downfall. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm weighing this much, and this I gained this much, but it, like I said, it just gave more fuel to my fire.
Yeah, and I've never been somebody that goes off the scale weight. I go off more of like, okay, do I like how I look at myself when I see myself naked in the mirror? And that's always been how I judge myself. And that's always worked out for me, because like I was up at 180 a couple months ago, actually almost like 6-7 months ago, because I was doing more powerlifting, so I needed to have more weight to move more weight type of thing.
Right.
And now I've just kind of cut back down to like 165, 170-ish or so. And it's like night and day, because like I do a lot of yoga as well too. So having the balance between like when I was bigger, I just didn't feel like I had as much mobility as I wanted to have.
Right.
So like me being able to lose the weight has helped out a lot too. But it's a balance between like pushing myself in the gym and like doing those free weights, and then also not. And I was also kind of wondering too, like you said that there's a lot of like you can feel eyes at you at the gym. Is that like a typical thing for most women? Like they can just like see and like sense that like
yeah, for sure.
men are staring at them all the time.
Yeah, you can definitely feel it.
Interesting.
And I don't even wear my glasses to the gym either. So I'm like, it's just like a thing of uncomfortableness. And of course you're like looking around. I know there's sometimes like, oh, you're probably overthinking it. No, I've caught people, you can just tell somebody is looking at you. Like even the gym because I recently switched gyms, not for any reason, but just kind of like, I kind of liked the environment of this one. And so, plus my friend goes to that. So I was just like, let me try to get used to the drive and used to like the vibe here. And I've enjoyed it. But even there's this one person now, they have approached me and they're super nice. But at the same time, like yesterday I started doing my hip thrust and I was like, okay, why am I feeling this weird sensation? And then all of a sudden I'm like, I feel like somebody's staring at me. And I seen him on the corner of my eye and he literally did like this whole like walk around and then came back this way. And then I seen him here and then I happened just to look to get my water. And then he's like, oh, hey. And it's like, you're doing the most. Stop. You're doing the most, you know? And I am trying to be very respectful, but at the same time, I could feel it. And so I knew that. And so then I started working out. You know, he did his sets. We talked for a little bit. I said, hi, how are you? Kept it cordial. I can see it and I feel it. And every time I'm even going, he's there, I definitely can sense it before even like when I'm walking out, I'm like, oh, I know he's here. It's just weird. And sure enough, he's like, I'm like, see, I know it. So I sometimes it could be a little bit of us being a little self-conscious, but where I'm at right now, I know I'm sure of myself. I don't care. Or I literally have blinders on, but there are moments I'm like, I know someone's staring. Somebody's close staring. Somebody's looking. And at the other gym, it's pretty much, it's because of the demographics too.
Yeah.
The type of men that are there. So.
And doing the most, I've never heard that term before.
You're doing the most?
Yeah, I've never, is it just
really?
like, yeah, I've never heard that before.
You're doing the most. It's just, you're calling for the attention. You're doing like the most.
Okay.
Like instead of you saying like, oh, hey, I seen you, or coming up like, hey, how's it going? How you been? Like, are you just getting here? He literally, it looked like he was peacocking, just kind of like, look at me. And I was like, oh, I don't want to see him, but I could see him. And, you know, and he's just like walking around. I'm like, oh, goodness.
So he is trying to be seen type of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
Gotcha.
like, you're in my focal vision to be seen. And I was purposely like, I know where he was like going. And so at the same time, I was like, I kind of just like looked up and I was just like, okay, dude, you're really doing the most right now. Like,
yeah.
Calm down.
So,
it's just interesting to me with him because I told him about my job and he had told me, he goes, I don't go into those places because you girls take all my money. I'm like, first off, that is what a broke man will say. I don't care. That's the first thing. Do not. And second off, that's a total turn off. Third, boy, bye.
Yeah.
You know, like if you really think I'm hounding you guys for money, you have me fucked up. Like that is not those type of places. If you only knew how many times like a guy will tip you $15 on a $10 tab and then you go and put in your tips, it's declined. Or it says fraud, you know, or, you know, you think that you're giving all this great service and you're telling them like, oh my gosh, you're even taking pictures and none of them tip you.
That's gotta be frustrating.
You know, so like for him to say that, you know, all you guys do is take our money is like, yeah, no, obviously your mindset is somewhere else different. And you are lacking money right now. And sure enough, I can pick that up immediately from him. And I asked him, well, what do you do? You know, I told you what I did. And he's like, I'm in between jobs. I called it.
Yep.
Oh, really? What do you do? Well, security. I was like, okay, looks, I see. And then he's like, and, you know, I started door dashing a little bit. I was like, yep, you are in a place of scarcity.
Yep.
And you think everyone's out to get you.
Yeah.
And steal your money.
Which is not the case.
It's not the case. You know, it literally is not the case. I never even did that to you guys at all.
No, I never got that impression at all. I just find it interesting because, yeah, typically people say the things that they themselves already have within themselves and they're trying to project it on somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, it can always tie back to, like, the relationship aspect too, where it's just like, oh, are you out there cheating on me? It's like,
Are you cheating?
yeah. It's
Literally.
like, it's the whole
it's
projection thing.
Yeah.
Because that was once I've realized that people typically say the things that they themselves are afraid is happening, that's typically the thing that I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick up on that compared to something else. And it's an interesting thing. And then it was also with like the whole gym thing too. I feel like sometimes, and maybe this is just my naivety as a man, but like sometimes when the women are dressing a certain way, it's almost like they're wanting to be looked at type of thing. So it's like, is there a way to tell the difference between like, okay, this is somebody that is like trying to do the most to get the attention, or is this somebody that's just like here to work out type of thing?
Oh, for sure. That's like the hard part though, because I will admit, like I do wear those like shorts that bunch up on the ass. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like, I like these shorts. Like last night I was like, damn, my ass is assing. Like, ooh, like she is looking good, you know? And so like me walking in, I'm like, I felt good, you know? But at the same time at the gym, I'm also like pulling them. It's a difference if I'm wearing like the 3-inch shorts and if I'm doing like the back extensions and my ass is out, that is literally calling for attention, you know? And I always have this rule that you can show, if you're showing legs, then cover this. Or if you're showing cheese, then cover the legs. Like one or the other. It's a balance. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, wear the sports bra, girlfriend, or wear those shorts. Don't get me wrong, but also kind of be respectful and mindful. And two, I feel like everyone's obviously in their own different place of mind when it could be confidence. And some of them are really just like, oh my goodness, I feel great. And I'm confident to be wearing this. But also too, on other girls can be like low in self-esteem. And this is the only thing that's giving them that pleasure to be like flaunting their stuff. And if you do, great beans, but also don't be surprised if you have people looking, you know. For me, I'll usually wear like a cover top and then like my shorts if I'm wearing shorts, you know? And so I usually don't show chest if I'm wearing my shorts. And so that's my personal rule, you know. Or if I'm wearing leggings, yeah, sometimes I'll, you know, have a little cleavage here, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want no lip slip either, you know, because it could be easy. Or yeah, just like certain things I'm just kind of like, yeah, I shouldn't wearing a tube top, because what if like I go like this and I'm doing like, you know, lat pull downs, and when I reach up, the shirt goes up. That's a embarrassing moment for me, you know? So just way perceive yourself and carry yourself ultimately.
Yeah.
So, but if you wear the whole outfit or the thing, because I know like during the summers, it's very common for girls to wear like the nice sports bra with like the shorts. Fine, wear it, but also be respectful to it too. Exactly.
Yeah, you know? I just, it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit when it's just like they get upset, but it's also like, I don't want to say you're like doing, like, it's not like it's their fault, but it's also like you guys put yourself in this position.
And you guys are natural hunters.
Exactly.
So like you are bound to look.
Yeah.
And so like even yesterday I was doing RDLs and I know what kind of shorts I'm wearing, you know, so I am not going to be standing behind somebody who's doing a chest press and I'm doing my RDLs in front of them, you know, and a lot of girls would go like to the corner or face their ass towards like the wall, things like that. And so I think those little indicators show that like she's not out here to be flaunting, and I think it's so funny because I see like content where guys are saying, the girl's single if she's wearing those big t-shirts and then she tucks it in the back to show her butt. But I'm not gonna lie, as a girl, I've never done that. One, because I don't really have the butt to show, but two, I think it's a cute fit. Like my perception, that's a cute fit. Yeah. That's a cute way to wear an oversized tee and cover your bloatiness, and for them, like, yeah, she's single because she has her ass out. And it's like, not really. I was just thinking it was a cute fit, She's showing one thing. Mm-hmm. For me, she's not flaunting her chest. Like, she's not flaunting something else. She's actually just flaunting what she's really working on, Personally, if I'm working legs or glutes, I'm going to wear shorts because it just pumps me up to see, like, that little pump, mm-hmm. or be like, yeah, that's right. I'm going to be wearing this, So, it's just personal preference, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, if I'm doing shoulders, I'll typically wear like a shirt that shows off my shoulders a lot more than other things. But it's just like, it's just different for men and women, I feel like, because it's just like, we are much more visual and we'll be looking around. So it's like, we're going to be looking, and it's just like, if you're wearing something that's provocative, it's like, we're going to look. So it's just like, I do my best not to, but there's still times where it's just like,
yeah,
eyes wander a little bit type of thing. So that's why I like going in the morning now, because like I can behave myself there. In the afternoon, I'm like, I have to control myself. I'm like, I just would rather not put myself. It's kind of like, just don't put myself in the situation to have something bad happen in the first place.
Right.
So it's just like, if I'm just not there, then it just like, I prevent that
from doing
from happening or from doing type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I just like that outlook a lot more.
Right. And that's really respectful. And I applaud you for that, because I don't think a lot of people would do that. And it's just, it's good to know that reassurance. Like, there's actually other guys out there that like are respectful about it, and for me, I just know where I'm like, it is what it is. And obviously I think it's because like I'm also normalized because of the industry that I work mm-hmm. in. And so I know that I'm going to be looked at and what I'm wearing with. So I'm just like, it's okay.
Yeah. I just find it interesting how like one girl, like she'll post it on Instagram, but then like she'll get upset at somebody looking at her in person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where's there's a disconnect or there's a balance. It's just like, you don't care that somebody's commenting on all of your photos over here. Like, I was talking with a friend of mine beforehand, and she's like, yeah, I want to make content, but I don't want it to be over-sexualized. And I was just like, you're wearing things that make you kind of be over-sexualized. And I was just like, there's a disconnect there. So it's like, are you really trying to attract the right audience, or are you trying to attract the wrong audience? Because I get you need to show off those things, but it's also, where's the balance type of thing. And I've yet to figure that out.
Same. I am also in that same boat, because I like what I wear, mm-hmm. Or if I'm posting it, I'm liking it. And I recently had posted our Santa's Helpers outfits, mm-hmm. and it's a crop top with a nice little booty skirt. And I was like, I don't know if I should be posting this, but at the same time, I'm like, I like it. I'm posting it, and it may look a little hoish. I'm not gonna lie, it does look a little hoish. But I should have said that as my caption instead of "Dear Santa, I'm sorry." But it's okay. Like, for me, I was like, it's just a balance, because like my next post, I loved the picture that I posted, and I literally have no chest showing. It's just a nice, beautiful red dress. And yeah, my legs are like nice and pretty, but like I felt like the length was good. The top was covered. My leg, was very minimal, still very classy. And even the one before that, I was wearing like a long jacket, and just like certain things that I think there's still balances. I have a friend, she's super gorgeous, and I think she expresses herself so well and carries herself well. I mean, like, she's so inspiring. What she posts, like, you can see like, oh, she has a figure. She posts like the little like dress, and obviously she has her cleavage, but at the same time, she also has content where she is wearing a nice, suit. And it just shows like you can still be feminine, and if you want to be a little bit on the sexual side, you can still show that, but also I think showing the other part is like, I still mean business. You know, like I like that post, but just FYI, I mean business, you know. I'm still standing on business. I should say it how everybody's saying it.
Everybody is. It's fantastic. I just find it interesting because it's like once you start going down that path, is that the path that you have to remain down, or can you continue going down the other path? It's like, because like if I was to start over sexualizing or like posting other content where it would be me like, because I used to post a lot of shirtless photos because I was like, I liked how I looked. I mean, I still do like how I look, but I also was like,
you're also asking for some attention.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, hey, look at how good look at how disciplined I am. Like, check it out, type of thing. I'm just like, I don't need to show those types of things anymore. I think it's just coming with age type of thing. But like, I still will like from time to time. Like, but it's just not like as it once was. But I think there's just there needs to be a balance in like, okay, I'm trying to show this, but I'm also wanting to remain professional. But it's also like, this is something that I'm good at, so like I know how to help out with it.
Right.
But I don't want to be seen as like conceited or arrogant. So it's just like, how do I find that balance? And
I think also how you post it too.
Yeah. I can see
that. You know, I have a picture there too where I really wanted to post it just itself, but I didn't want to be sexualized in that photo. And so, and it's not even, it was just me in like a one piece. And I obviously have like a little bit of a deep cleavage and I'm sitting on a rock. It's nothing different. But for me, it was at that time, I was like, okay, I have a man. I have to worry about like, how am I being perceived? And so the way I posted that was like a sunset. And then, you know how you could do the collage or whatever. And so I posted the sunset, then I posted me on the hike. And then I just kind of did like a photo dump and I put that as one of my last photos. And so like, you can still kind of twist that around and say, hey, I love this body, but at the same time, not over having it. Or if you have one that, like on your Instagram, I haven't looked at your Instagram lately or recently, but if you have one that's shirtless, like you can have like one, you know, and then the rest be whatever you want. It's like a little teaser, you know, be like, that's right. I work hard for this too, because you got to be proud for that, you know, and be like, that's right. I work hard for the body that I have. And for me, it's like, yeah, I do work hard for my body too, you know, and I'm actually proud of that. I was in that little skimpy outfit. It was cute, you know, and yeah, I have to post sometimes where I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to say like, I'm here, come visit me. I don't really have to, but you know, when you get your regulars or your friends or who want to come in, it's nice having that because then you make more money.
That was kind of my thought. I was like, it's a marketing tactic. You want to get more people in the door, and your regulars probably tip you better than other people do too. So
yeah, it's just building that relationship with them too. And they're most likely going to be more respectful too. So, it's just kind of building that relationship. And so when I try to do my posts and say, come visit me, I'm very strategic on certain things that I put on, but at the same time, like, you still got to have fun. Why not? It's only a story. It'll last for 24 hours, or you could just take it down after you're done with work and you had your chance. Goodbye.
That is true. It's also like, why worry about what other people are thinking when you do post your stuff as well too? Like, if I enjoy it, I enjoy it.
Right.
Like,
and if I wanted to share with you, I'm sharing it with you.
Exactly.
You know, and sometimes people get a little too sensitive with things.
Yeah, a little bit. That's why.
Or take it personal.
They do. And that's why I'm like, I'll post stuff on my stories or on Instagram, and I'll just post it to post it. If we want to have a real conversation, we can do it over text or DMs or something like that. But I've just never been like, if you want to DM me, if like back, okay,
either follow
cool.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't like it, unfollow me.
Yeah, that's kind of my take. I'm like, I can't control. It ties back to like I can't control the output, but I can control what I do.
Yeah.
So like, and I've always put too much emphasis on what other people thought of me, and I'm just like, I'm done doing that. Like, it's mentally draining.
For sure.
Sometimes I just have to give a little like middle finger and be like, all right, yeah, like I'm doing me now at this point in time.
Exactly.
And I like that a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. And also too, like, it's the same way you're tailoring your own Instagram. If you like something, cool. If you don't. You know, if you want to keep following all these big booty girls, follow the big booty girls.
Yeah, I've never.
That's on to whatever your timeline is. Yeah. You know, you're gonna tailor that. If you want something more motivating, you're gonna be following more motivative things or things that are gonna be interesting you, and ultimately your input is gonna come out with output.
Because like I'm under the impression like our feeds dictate what we think and what we feel and how we perceive the world. So I've seen some other people's home pages like on Instagram and on YouTube, and I'm just like, this shit is dark, or it's just weird. It's like big booty girls. Mine has been like that beforehand, but like it's not anymore.
Mine too.
Like,
shoot, because I wanted a big butt too, so I was on there.
Yeah. So now it's more of just like, it's more motivational stuff. Like it's quotes, like it's anime stuff. Maybe it's a couple of like spirituality things as well too. But it's just like, I feel like seeing the insight into somebody's explore page shows the inner workings of their mind. And it's just, it fascinates me so much, because
It's
I'm
so
just
crazy.
like, this is the things that you're thinking about. Like that girl that I was...
And what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And what you're really doing.
And that's...
Your algorithm is really, truly what you're interested in that moment. It changes. Like if I start saying Stanley Cups, I'm going to start seeing Stanley Cups on there. You know, I said Stanley Cup like literally, I think in December. And now I can't stop seeing it. I'm like, I'm literally sitting not interested, not interested, not interested, not interested, you know, but it's still coming up sometimes. And you know, I've been in, like where I said, I wanted a big butt. So I've been obviously looking at girls with big butts and like the BBLs and seeing what girls had BBLs. And so my feed was full of BBLs. And it's so funny because when I was talking to somebody, he was like, on my TikTok, there's only like these girls with like big titties and, you know, big butts. And I always have to keep like skipping them.
He's not skipping them.
Exactly my point. I was like, red flag, you know? And I'm like, you are not skipping them. And then later on, he admitted, like, he had an addiction to porn. Yeah. And that takes a lot. But at the same, you know, your algorithm tells a lot about you. You click on something, you like it. You know, I think TikTok looks at, like, your eye movement sometimes, you know, and the stuff that you're going to look up, it's going to give you the feed to that. Mm-hmm. You know, have you ever seen a story or like a TikTok where there's a situation or story that happens and then you move and the next like 3 slides, it's a different point of view. So have you ever seen that?
I've never physically had it on my page, but I've found a video where somebody had it on their page and then they screen recorded it and showed that said result. Because I've created my TikTok page and my Instagram page to make it so that I only watch one video and then I get off the app.
Oh, dang. Just one?
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Yeah. So I also cultivated it too for a little while, to where like if I was going on an Instagram, like it would be a hot girl or something like that. I'd be like, okay, this is cool. And then the next video was a motivational one. And I'd be like, all right, I'm off the app and I'm like done with it type of thing.
Wow. That's really great. That's a lot. I'm very impressed, honestly. I'm kind of shook it to the core.
Yeah. I've been able to trick myself. I even got TikTok to show me content where it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be focusing on your goals. Like, get off the app right now. So I close out of the app and I get back to work.
I am shook. That's cool.
Yeah. I'd rather cultivate like the ideas and the things that I want to have happen compared to be distracted by meaningless things that just don't bring any sort of significant value to me. Like, don't get me wrong, it is good and fun to be entertained.
Right.
I'm just more under the impression I'd rather watch, like, say, Bob Proctor, or like listen to something like motivational or spiritual for like just a quick little brief second thing, and then be like, all right, I'm done and I'm moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's just a realization that I've had to come to.
Right.
Instead of like binge watching TikTok after TikTok or short after short or reel after reel, because I was at that place and I didn't like it. So I was like, how can I cultivate and change this so that I only give myself one opportunity to watch that thing, and then I can get off the app so I'm not wasting, say, 11 hours in a day or a week or whatever it may be, pointlessly scrolling, because I have been there. So I just learned, I was just like, if I can just create it in a way that makes me not want to be on the app, then it helps me get back to work and do the things that are more important to me.
So that discipline of what you do, like how does that look like? I guess, like, how did you get to that point? Because did you just, like, once you see your video and you're like, I'm done, and you were like, I'm not going to go on the next? Or, like, I guess, like, really elaborate on that. I'm super interested.
Yeah, so I think...
Because for me, I guess, hold on.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's like, I see one, I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so hilarious. That was a good one. And I share it, I'm like, on to the next. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm like, 5 more minutes. Or be like, oh, 2 more minutes type of thing.
And then those turn into 5 hours or 6 hours or something like that.
So, like, I guess for me is what does that look like once you see your video? Or, like, how do you also sustain your way away from that or be away from it?
Yeah, so the best way that I would recommend doing it is, and how I did it as well too, is like, I'll watch one video and I'll process it. like, and I'll just sit with it for a second or so, and then I'm like, okay, like I don't want to be on here anymore. And then like it was a lot of the awareness, and like there was a time when I was scrolling TikTok, and I don't know if you've ever gotten to the point where like there'd be like these
Whoa, you've been scrolling for too long?
no, I have had that one before, and I'd scroll past it, but this was back like during the pandemic, like during COVID, and I was watching it. It's like I can't do this anymore. But there would always be this video where it was like this creepy little dude, like he was black and white. He was like little like just like a little. It was a weird little guy, and I was like, I don't like this feeling. I didn't like this content that I was seeing, so like I was just like, I don't want to be on the app anymore. So I would just like shut it off. So whenever I'd see those videos, I'd be like, yep, nope. I'm done.
My time.
Yeah.
Like you already knew you dug yourself into the hole.
Correct. Yeah. Because I knew that if I continued to watch that video, it was where I was going. And that's where like, this is a whole different path that I'll just touch the surface of it a little bit, but it kind of ties down to like, what if our thoughts are the ones that are showing us these things, because we have no idea what's going to be the next thing that we scroll. So what if it's actually us like thinking, and it ties back to that whole energy aspect of it too, that's showing us the next thing that we want to see. So we're the one that's continually being the one that's scrolling instead of it's scrolling for us. So I look at it in terms of like, whenever I would see those negative things, it was me talking to myself like, hey, it's my time to get off the app.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm on the app and I watch one video, it's like, okay, I got what I needed to, because it was me talking to myself.
Yeah.
Whereas if I look at it from like, I'm just watching and consuming the content from like an outside source, it's completely different. So like, I just want to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But it took time, and it took me being at like, I think at the beginning we were talking about how like you were depressed, and I was like, I've had depression as well too, and how you were eating lots of Oreos at the time. And I was like, I don't want to be eating these things. So like me being able to relate like other aspects of my life to say social media and TikTok, and being like, okay, I don't have to eat cookies, or I don't have to go to the gym, or I took this out. If I can do that here, then I can also do that here as well too. Like I can limit my time, like say with Oreos or something like that. Like you bring a whole pack of Oreos for everybody else, but you only have 3 of them. So it's like on TikTok, it's like, all right, I'll just watch 3 videos and then maybe send one to my friend and then call it good type of thing. So it's like I'm not on there all the time. It's just I've also become very comfortable with my own internal thoughts. And I was like, I'd rather read a book or like meditate or like do something a little bit, go on a run or a walk. Like whenever I'd feel, and it's hard because it's just like sometimes getting off the couch when we don't feel like it is the most impossible thing to do. But like those would be the times when I would get off the couch and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go on a walk just around the block. I'm just going to get off my phone and just step outside or whatever it may be.
Disconnect.
Exactly. And that has helped me to not use the app as much as I once did. And just also having that awareness of like, why binge watch things? Because I'm trying to avoid the emotion that I don't want to feel right now. And it ties back to that. So I was like, all right, let's let me sit in this feeling. Let's let me cry. Let's let me grieve. Let's let me feel the happiness, joy, sorrow, whatever it may be, and then just move past it. And then I can continue on with my life. But I do still sometimes, like I'll get into the Instagram feed from time to time, but then I'll read one and I'm like, okay, that was exactly what I needed to. And then I'll like toss it out of my way.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool though. And I feel like that's super healthy, and that's grown to a really healthy relationship. I guess I only wanted to know because there's obviously a lot of people out there that have the addiction, including myself, to social media.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I always I give myself breaks, and I would love to get there at one point. And you do have a really great point to say that you reflect on it, because there's such great content on TikTok. And I feel like even there's certain things that you're talking about, you know, for me, my TikTok at one point was only about like relationships or being in this wounded area. And so I absorbed so much, but yeah, I retained so little, you know, and I think that's so easy to do in that type of like with social media. Is like you see so much at so much one point and you get addicted to that feeling, like that knowledge, and then you're like, oh, dang, I was in like 1 hour deep, you know? And now I don't really remember the first video that I watched.
Yep.
And so that is a really good, healthy mind shift to do. And I hope I can get there one day, you know? I can.
It's easy enough. It starts with the awareness. Like if you're aware that you're scrolling too much, then you can start, at least that's what I did. I started to be like, okay, I'm scrolling too much. Like I need to stop scrolling.
Right.
And then it starts to change. Like TikTok was like Vine. I don't know if you ever got into Vine or not. But
I remember Vine.
I enjoyed watching it, but I also I didn't get as addicted as I think other people did. It was cool, but I was just like, like it just didn't do anything for me. And then also like the weird part too. So like when I go to the bathroom now, I don't take my phone with me any longer. So I'm not like in there for 2 hours sometimes. Like it's just like,
Or your feet falling asleep.
yeah, basically
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want that because I was scrolling on TikTok or Instagram too long. I was like, I just don't like this.
And there's also some health issues to that, sitting on the toilet for too long. You can give yourself hemorrhoids for that. I know that's a little TMI, but
hey, I mean, it happens, right?
and also too, you're putting all those poop particles with your phone. I'm pretty sure a lot of your phone is one of the dirtiest things that
probably.
You know?
Yeah. So it's
cool.
Yeah. If you want to stop scrolling, like it's easy. I say it's easy, but it does take time. It takes
does.
awareness.
Yeah.
And just realizing that like the things that you're consuming are things that are like you yourself are viewing it that way. And if you want to learn and truly evolve with the content that you're watching, like I don't know what type of content you watch, but like for me, it's always self-improvement or like ways of changing my mind. So I want to give myself time to reflect and think on that so that then I can apply said skill to myself instead of just like letting it pass and just being like, okay, that was cool.
Or good
Because
info.
motivational content doesn't do anything. It's more of like action. And I've had to realize that myself, where it's just like I need to act instead of just watch and consume all the time.
Yeah. I do find that like when I am on my breaks though, or when I'm not on my phone, say for an instance, like I'll delete the app in the mornings or I'll delete it at night so I'm not waking up to it in the morning, and then I'll reload it up. And by the time I reload it, I'm like, oh, it's so exhausting. I don't even want to get on it. Like I need to do other stuff or I need to preoccupy myself. And so like right now, I feel like I need to start taking another detox because slowly, like I put my notifications on. I don't ever put my notifications on social media. I hate it. And lately I've been having to have them on just due to the people who I'm networking with, which just I feel is super healthy. But I also feel like now if I'm to that point where I'm waiting for their response, I either have to take it off social media and say, hey, let's actually connect in real person, because I can be working and also be on the phone sometimes and just be like, okay, let me give you a quick 15 minutes while I go on this walk. Let's talk, let's chat it up. Or after work, now I can take it off instead of like waiting for their DM. And I know sometimes it's easier, but I do find myself like, okay, turn the notifications off. It's too much, and I don't like it. We're like, oh, this person posted this. I'm like, I don't have the time to look at that. Or what's hanging.
Like you can always look at the DMs too. Like if DMs can kind of be looked at as like an email, and an email can be responded to like same thing with like a text can be responded to like when you have time. They really needed you and it was really urgent. Like they could give a call type of thing.
Right.
But because I don't have notifications on Instagram or TikTok or like Snapchat because it's just like I don't need it. I'll check those apps when I
have the time. And see, like even like when we were DMing, I just was like, let's take this off because I wasn't. Obviously, I knew you wanted to meet up, and I was like, okay, you know what? I think it's time for us to like take this off of social media and actually exchange numbers. We kind of grew that little bit of like relationship of, okay, yeah, you are. Let's see what we want to do with this.
Crazy, like...
No, and obviously I could respond when I needed to respond, but which I appreciate you for being so patient too. And I knew like it wasn't going to be taking any of that, but most people don't see that. They're like, oh man, she left me on red for 2 days. Like, it's not really I'm not leaving you on red. It's just I get busy.
So it's also like if you got left on red, could you not respond?
Right. And so like even too, like I've told some people on there, I'm like, hey, just by the way, like I didn't mean to open the message. I will get back to you when I can. And some of them were like, it's okay. We have all lives. Like we have lives outside of this. I'm like, you're right. But it's that people pleaser in me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I learned from sales. Like people get busy. But if you truly do believe that the thing that you are doing and the service you're providing is worth value, you will continually follow up and follow up and follow up, regardless of how many responses you don't get back from that person. And that's just something I've had to come to realize because people do get busy. They have other opportunities, other things going on in their life. So sometimes they don't always have the time to respond to a message right away. And like, I can't be upset. Because like there's a whole stigma online where it's just like, oh, they posted on their story, but they haven't opened or left me on red or whatever it is. And it's like, what if that's their job? Like, what if that's what they're supposed to, exactly. Like that's what they're supposed to do. Like they can't have a full-blown conversation or respond back to you when it was like a quick little snippet of like, hey, I'm just doing this just to kind of like build up the rapport with somebody else.
Right.
And I'll get back to you when like I have a second.
And I think it's easy to just like, okay, let me have this quick moment. I can't give you that moment yet either. It's like, let me, obviously we've gotten into the conversation where you're on Instagram and you're obviously masking a feeling sometimes. I know you mentioned that before, like when I first met you, like, what are you masking? Like, well, what are you trying to avoid of that feeling? And some people are on that and they just don't have the capacity to talk or text somebody back. Or if you're having a good conversation, like you're not there, you're not going to go ahead and respond. I had a really great conversation with somebody and I was like, I'm not leaving you on red. I need a moment, and if I go on Instagram, sometimes I'll be posting on my story, and it's not that it's my job. It's just that it does help with my job, especially if I'm going to be at a fight, because then if there's not at a fight, I'm not fighting, obviously. If there's fights going on, like the UFC fights or the boxing fights, then I'll get a DM like, hey, are you working tonight? Yes, I am. Or, hey, how much is there a cover? And obviously I don't have sometimes the time to respond. It's just, hey, come in. But even my friends would be like, oh, she's working, we're going to go, and then they'll be like, hey, can I sit with her instead? So I feel like that's just like a quick, easy post out there. But then I'm like, I'll get back to you when I can.
Yeah.
And I feel that when you're in that place to give that moment to that person, you're actually in that moment. You're able to, instead of giving them kind of like your sloppy seconds or just a quick response, like that isn't really as intentional that you anticipated it to be.
Exactly. That's why it's tough, because it's like I can't text people all day, but some people like want to be talking all day, but it's like I got things that like I can't. My energy and focus needs to be here, and every single time I pick up my phone or I look at a response for a message, like it takes my focus away, and then it takes twice as long for me to get back. So it's like I'd rather just not give that energy or focus away,
right,
and just stay focused on the thing at hand. And once I'm done with this thing, then I can go through. Like I typically start my mornings by responding to all of my messages. Some people would be like, you shouldn't do that, like you should do something else. But I'm like, that's what I do first thing in the morning. So I get that out of my way. And then once that's out of my way, then I can start working on other stuff, that like productive stuff. So it's a different way of looking at it, but it's helped me.
Yeah. And everyone has their own way to it, And so I know some people can't wake up and do their emails right away.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, you just want,
Yeah.
It could be a good email, it could be a bad email. Majority of the times, who knows where it's going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's work. Of course, it's gonna don't be surprised if it's not gonna be good. But like you said, you're just responding to people, and that's the time that you can give them that moment and fully be immersed in it. Do it.
Yeah, because then
works
afterwards,
best for you.
Yeah, because then I'll be making calls or have conversations or I'll do editing, and I'm like, I can't be taken away from that all the time. So
yeah,
just better do it first thing in the morning, get those up. Done
or audio messages too. The voice memos. I love voice memos.
Yeah.
But I love them because like you can hear the tone of voice. You can actually voice the way you want to voice it. And for me, since I do speak Spanish, even though I don't speak it like all crazy, there are times where I feel that I'm not as strong with being punctual, or not punctual, with my grammar, and just like putting the commas where they need to be put at. And I'm like, oh my God, does this make sense? Is it? Or I'm overthinking it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of where I could just talk to them like, hey, this is going blah, 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 and hope you're having a nice day. Bye.
Yep.
And it's easier than a phone call too, because then it's like a voicemail.
Yeah.
Just
simple enough, super, but it's quick enough. Like you can respond back and forth a lot faster than you can, like with a voicemail or giving the call or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it still is like a text, but it's also conveys the tone that you're wanting it to convey, which I think is very useful.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Me too.
I think we can call that there. That works
too.
for me. Awesome, Brenda. That was cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if that died at all or not, but if it did, then these should still have it recorded. But
yeah.
I have no idea.
Who knows?
Thank you. Yeah, that did die halfway through, but it's okay. I don't know how.